Okay, so going back to Chiron, one of the things I am really treasuring about this class is not that. Looks like some army helicopter going over Notting Hill. Is that?
Yeah, I can hear it.
You can hear it where you are too. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes over. It's quite common.
Chiron is a big player in human design in terms of its cycle. The Chiron cycle, particularly for sixth line people. That Chiron is one of the key points of when you come off the roof. And there's a little bit about the Chiron return, which is generally between 38 and 40. But there isn't much teaching on what we're doing, which is looking at where is Chiron in your chart and how is that impactful. And because I obviously have a background in astrology, I'm bringing that in because I used to look at Chiron so strongly. So I'm excited that we can be letting all of our outer authorities come out with things in this class. And I'm saying this particularly because Lawrence and I were walking the other day and he said, so what does it mean that I have Chiron, blah, blah, blah? And then I kind of went back to the basics. He goes, I know, but what does it mean? I'm like, there isn't a teaching yet. We're creating the teaching. This is us creating the teaching. There is not a teaching from Ra on Chiron and that I have found anyway. If anyone knows about it, please let me know. But we're creating the teaching. We're all bringing our outer authorities to look at how is this showing up in my life. And I'm excited about that. I'm actually quite thrilled. And some, like Lily and I, have gone deeper on conversations, and Lawrence and I, in walking around, have gone deeper in looking at, well, what is this? What does it mean to have a Chiron wound in my face? What does it mean to have a Chiron wound in my 26? That's Lily. So I'm available for those conversations too. So Miss V, your Chiron, I have to go to my papers. So this is actually quite fascinating to me because you are one of the people, V, who, if your Chiron, see, Ra made a decision at a certain point that Chiron would not be included in the definition. Like it's included, if you have the MMAI software, the calculation is included. So you can go in there and find out where your Chiron is, but it's not considered part of what defines you, as in the gate is not part of the rave chart. For Valia, you're one of the people that if it were, you would have a different strategy. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't. Most of us actually wouldn't, and a couple of us would, because your personality Chiron's in the 39. So if you had the 39, it would provoke your 55 into a whole emotional world.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious about it, because I can't look at me and see what would be the difference, because it doesn't make a definition that I don't otherwise have. And it's so clear to me that you're a G projector that there's not a part of me thinking, well, maybe she really is an emotional projector. On the other hand, you do go through ups and downs of emotions at times. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm just curious about it. And to go a little deeper, my from what it looks like from out here, the ups and downs of emotions go on generally around relationship, particularly romantic relationships. And not just because you're with someone emotional, because it's when you're alone also. And the house, the astrological house that your Chiron is in, is the 5th house of romance.
Uh-huh. Of course.
Of course. Thank you. I was waiting for that.
I'm like, yep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So
And
I'm going
yeah,
to read my notes about that, unless you have something to say already. You want to say something?
I mean, just that, you know, the emotional piece is relevant. I feel like I feel a lot of emotions, and it has like a cyclical nature. You know, sometimes I'm pretty neutral, other times it does feel like I ride waves, you know, but it could also be like the program, you know, like what's going on in the transits. So I have hanging gates. So I don't know, but I definitely, I've been mistaken for an emotional projector plenty of times.
Yeah, and the other thing about that is, and my computer shut down, so I have to get everything back up again. Sometimes it just does that. The other thing is that the tones in both of your personality and your designs are cyclical. And you have a 6 and a 5, and those are both related to the solar plexus. So it shows up there, like you have actually an emotional mind and an emotional brain.
Mhm.
So that's another piece that people could be picking up on is your communication could be emotional in a sense. But I think actually this Chiron thing is a fairly big deal.
Yeah.
So the 5th house wound is all about deep hurt relating to the inner child, sexuality, romance, self-expression, or creativity. If your Chiron is in the 1st house, you may hide what is unique about you, especially in the sign of your Chiron, which is Cancer.
Mhm.
You may take various reactions from others as rejection, even when they are not. Your inner infant was not given this is a double negative. It wasn't given non-judgmental freedom. In other words, it was judged. So you weren't just able to play. There was a hypercritical energy coming to you and creating a self-criticism. You may try to cloak this with fear or simply repress part of yourself. It might make you extra self-conscious in how you portray yourself. It could be hard to let go and have fun or be curious or discover your passion. Do you want to say anything about any of that business?
I mean, that's all 100% accurate.
Yeah.
You just described my life, basically.
Mm.
Which I was actually reflecting on this today on my walk, just about how challenging that's been to be an 8-1 and to have had so many forces outside of me try to prevent my expression, my voice, my mutative quality. You know, like I'm finally in a place now where I feel like because I'm in my own frequency, I can mutate without other people trying to stop me. And like I've just like realized how fucked up that's been. Of like, why would anyone even try to stop my mutation?
Right.
You know,
Your
like
creativity, your self-expression, that whole
yeah.
thing.
It's like as an 8-1, I've been like kind of like used and siphoned as a muse to be like, be the muse when I want you to be the muse,
Right.
and be the muse only for me, and you will only do it for me when I want you to. You know, Philippe is like, yes. It's like it's been that. It's gnarly. And I couldn't even see it because I was so in it. And now that I've unplugged from everything, I can see it. And it's strange. Like I even feel kind of like hooks where people can try to hook me, you know. Like I went to a dance last week and I could feel where this guy was like trying to hook me. And I was like, ooh, weird. Like maybe there would have been an opening at some point, or maybe there's been an opening in my field that he could feel and tap into, you know. So anyway, all that is true. Everything you say is true.
And it could be that when you are allowing that mutative, creative, self-expressive self to come through, people feel provoked. because it's in the third
Mm.
time.
Mm. That's true. That's true for sure. I definitely have a provocative nature to me with that. And it is deeply emotional. Like I've had to do a lot of deconditioning around my emotional process, but I feel like I let emotions come and go. Like I have no problem like crying whenever I need to, like, you know. And I think with being a pure individual too, that comes with the, the melancholy and the mutative quality.
Right, right.
But yeah, I definitely have a provocative nature to me at times.
Yeah.
And I also love that would be a channel that's still individual. So I would still maintain
Yeah,
my
that's right.
individuality.
That's
Yeah.
right. And the other thing I want to remind all of us is it's kind of easy to, let me start this again. I don't know a lot about your background, but from what I've heard, it was kind of repressive in that way.
Absolutely.
It's so easy to just blame our parents and blame our family of origin and blame our upbringing for all of these things. And one of the things that struck me right away when I was studying astrology, and particularly with Chiron, is that wherever your Chiron wound is, yeah, you'll look back and it'll look like you were wounded by your family. And you were, but you came in with a predisposition for it. Like before they said a word, before they did a thing, that was predisposition. And if you'd come in with a different predisposition, the family would have looked different.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just one of those mysteries.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, and also my everyone in my family of origin, they're on my fractal. So I had plenty of karma with them already. And the karma, I mean, I feel like they had to hold down some gnarly stuff to be as awful as they were. Like that was hard. Like to have to come in and be like, I'm gonna treat my own child this way. Like my mom, I think, got the horrible end of the stick, because like I get to live my life and be myself, but like, she had to do that. So I've yeah, I know her soul and so well, and I know we've loved each other in other ways in other lifetimes, but yeah, rough go in this one. That piece. So it is interesting too, I feel like, with the timing of this discussion with Chiron, because I am in a place where I'm completely pulled back from all intimate relationships. And it's really the first time in my life where I'm like truly, truly not interested in romantic. And I think in the past I used to like say that and I was like almost like fooling myself. But like literally, I'm in the land of sexy, hot tantra dudes, and I have no interest. Like nothing in me is like, I want to, I'm so like, I am so staying in my lane. I'm on my shit. Like it's really interesting. So this is a new and mutative quality about myself that I'm stoked to meet this version, because what I can see is like my pattern would be like I'm on my direction and I'm like, yeah, I'm going this way, and I'm like super vibrant, juicy, yummy, and then some tribal motherfucking dude would be like, let me take you back to my cave and club you over the head and come this way, and I'd be like, okay, I'm yours. And then my direction would be gone, and then I'd finally get out of that. Finally, it would be horrible. I'd have to fight like so hard to get out. And then as soon as I would be vibrating and like juicy, some dude would be like, hey, you're mine. Fucking tribal, ooh, and I'd be like back in, back in, back in. So yeah, I'm excited to just be like doing me right now. Staying in my lane.
This is what you're talking about has been such a theme in my tribe here with women and that I've been talking to. And a lot of them, I think, have individual circuitry, and there's just this conditioning and habit that women are supposed to diminish themselves for if a man claims them, this, and they use these words, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, You know, it
Yeah.
feels like so horrible. I'm like, really? I mean, these are really badass, powerful women
Yeah.
who then all of a sudden they just hook up with this hot tantra dude, like you said, and they're
Mhm.
like, oh, you know, and they're like,
He
oh, I'm
chooses
finally,
me.
I'm
He
just
picks me.
right, exactly.
I'm
And you're like,
chosen. I'm claimed.
and the crazy thing is that, you know, I just keep saying to these women, I mean, there's like 3 different women that I've been talking to about this stuff for some reason. And they're like, I'm just like, okay, so have you claimed yourself? Because
Mhm.
you don't, when you claim yourself, you don't need to be claimed by somebody. There's you know, different things that we have that we respond to, but somebody like just saying you're mine, you belong to me, all those
Yeah.
things, trying to heal the wounds,
Yep.
you know, that we have, the often the Chiron wound, I think, from childhood of like the father not being around, or you know, all those different
All that
flavors that
stuff.
we have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so weird how like in the tribal like new consciousness of people, young people especially, there's this whole reinvigoration of this myth
Mhm.
that the caveman thing, as if it's like somehow like really romantic and high, and I don't know.
Yep.
I'm kind of over it.
Yeah. The thing about me, because I'm a projector, is like it really does come down to recognizing myself. And I have had to be really honest with myself. And like until now, I've actually never truly recognized myself. So
Mm,
I would get lost in these relationships because I didn't recognize myself. I didn't fully understand my definition, fully understand, if I fully understood what it means to be an 8-1, I would have been like, oh, huge red flag. He's taking me off my direction. He's not letting me mutate. I can't mutate. If I can't mutate, what the fuck am I doing? I can't do anything because I can't be myself if I'm not mutating.
mm,
Like everyone that I've seen who I met while I was with him, when they see me now, they're like, oh my God, you're not even the same person. Not, yeah, because I couldn't mutate. I got out, I mutated. I'm like, oh, I'm back to myself. So now that I'm actually recognizing myself, it's different because there's a certain standard and a bar. Because if you don't recognize me to the degree that I recognize myself, we can't even talk. Like you
mm,
don't even get access to me at all, period.
mm.
So it is, yeah, there was a huge wound piece around the 5th line projection and all that. And yet I'm really grateful that he like kind of amplified all of my patterns because I got to like see all of it. And I was like, oh God, this is a bad look for me. I really need to look at this. Like, that's not good.
Well, and one of the things that the Chiron wound speaks to is not find it and heal it, but find it, accept it, and be empowered by it.
Yeah.
So one of your gifts could be to empower others to see themselves, which obviously goes around it with being a projector and all of that as well. I want to read this 39.4. It's called Temperance. This is one of the great lines of the 384 lines. I love it when he says that, and I have one. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a great person. So complex. The 4th line is called Temperance. Careful evaluation and assessment before taking action. That's kind of what you were just saying. Careful evaluation and assessment before taking action, before provoking. The nature of this gate is not about doing, it's about provoking. The exaltation is values of feelings and instincts and establishing proper timing. Feelings have nothing to do with this stream. Instincts have nothing to do with this stream either. Timing has nothing to do with this stream. We have already, I don't want to read out too much. The energy to provoke at exactly the right time. This is the magic and the fixation of the 4th line. When is the right time? Because of that, they externalize at different times until they learn. So this is really, in a sense, what you've been saying is you got to learn your timing, and it's your timing.
Yes.
It's not because they're ready. It's because it's your timing. Yeah.
Yep.
And the detriment, the faulty belief that willpower alone can overcome any obstacle of regardless of circumstances.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely had that in moments.
These people end up being a pain in the neck because they are always provoking you at the wrong time. If it is the right time to provoke somebody when they have a headache, do not provoke them when they do not have one, because you will get crushed. So I think what this is saying is don't, and this is, challenging, I would imagine, for a projector. It's not about looking, are they ready for the provocation? It's, are you lined up with yourself? Are you in the right direction? Are you, boom, is the timing correct to have that come out? And that's where the wounding can be, is that you could just be so fixated on the other person that you're provoking them because you see something in them, rather than waiting for the right timing as it comes out of you.
That's so true. That's so true. I mean, it is a projected channel, and it ties really well with like seeing, because I feel like often I see things and I'm like, wow, I can't say anything. And like, how hard is that? Especially in relationship. And I think because I was in these incorrect relationships, I often couldn't say anything because I wasn't being invited, and I wasn't being invited to guide. And I'm like, well, that's what I'm here to do. Like, you need to fucking listen to me, but like, you don't want to because I'm not truly recognized. Just because you say I recognize you and I see you does not mean it's true recognition.
I've seen Lily really, really take on an awareness of, in a sense, timing, but actually recognizing the recognition and not saying anything. And I've seen it's been kind of miraculous, the difference between watching her just trying to put something in there and meeting resistance, versus not saying anything until she's invited. And I'm going to now invite you, Lily, because I think you might have something to say about this topic in general, because you've been so courageous in taking it on. It's like, I'm fucking not saying anything until they invite me now and see what happens.
You want me to comment on anything specific, or just anything that's in my...
Yeah, whatever you come out with. I've been watching your face a little bit, and I've seen some smiles. And
well, I can relate it to myself with my Chiron return at gate 26. I've just had a recent awareness about, and I feel it pertains where it wasn't when I was a child, I could recognize how fucked up they were, right? And I could really recognize it, but I didn't have any recourse at that time as far as to get out of the situation or do something. So it really, I can put this, it was just this morning, it wasn't about them, what they did to me, or how they valued me. It was more inward, like I wasn't, because it is an ego gate, my Chiron, where I saw that I wasn't valued enough for somebody to stick up for me, or somebody to tell me something different. So it really wasn't about them, because I could see how fucked up they were. It was about how I saw I wasn't valued enough by the outside world, which then was a great wounding, which then fucks me up, because I'm waiting for somebody to value me so I could value me, throughout my life. And now it's just flipping. It has flipped to the other side. It has nothing to do with like your people, like what was his name? Your boyfriend, your ex,
Oh, Luke.
Luke,
Yeah.
had nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with you, and that's what I've been hearing being read and said. And it's a huge difference, especially probably for a projector, but I would say for everyone, it's a huge difference that I have not valued myself because throughout life because others didn't value me.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm valuing myself. And I don't know if I made it clear or not, but it's such a huge difference, even though it might look really closely the same.
So what you're saying is recognizing when there's not recognition and then having a higher value of yourself so that you don't go to those places where you're not recognized. Is that what you're saying?
I think my core wounding is I always look at others that they, like when I needed someone to tell me, look, you have it within you. Look, I'm going to come to your aid because you're young. You don't have that ability at this point. I'm going to be your voice for you until you could get your own voice. I didn't have that. So you could see how messed up, especially on my notes, how messed up they were, their own opinions and stuff. I could see it, but what it left me with is that I didn't, I'm not valuable enough for somebody to value me. And I'm going to leave it at that because I feel like I'm going a little bit in a circle, but I'm just going to let that vibration just kind of percolate and mature.
And would you say,
But that's what
Lily,
I have to do.
that one of the things that you tried to do was to use your voice to show people that you were someone valuable? Would that
No,
no?
I just would go under the radar. I would become quiet.
Like a 2.
And yeah, and unconscious emotional, totally unconscious emotional. So I would know that I couldn't go to them, but there was nobody coming to me to say how valuable I was because I couldn't go to them. So I was quiet. I didn't rock the boat because of that gate 26, I believe, as a wounding that I came in with, that that I had to learn that it had nothing to do with somebody else valuing me. But I can see the value in children and in nurturing that, in having them empowered, to actually know your own empowerment from little on up, that you have your own voice, you have your way. So that is what I came in to learn for my own child and for other children. And I think I can look back, and I've looked at children so differently. I'm sure we all do, that they are fully full, already. Just that they need a little bit of guidance, let's say, or somebody to stand in the way of the world, telling them who they are not, who they are when they are not. So yeah, it's I'm gonna, again, it's just yesterday and today that with this Chiron return stuff, and I see it when I hear it for you, I can see that in a different angle or a different prism, because you have a different wounding. But my hope to the 2 as well, and I've heard Lawrence talk about this, where you're waiting for someone to notice you and to come and value you and to call you out, right? And if you didn't have that as a child, then it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with how you value yourself. And I think that's what's held me back a lot, that when somebody looks at me, I have this core wound that I am not enough, that I don't value myself enough. So why would they? I always question them. Why would you even look at me that way? Because it's a wounding inside me. and that's what I came here to work with. So, and I'm sorry if I went around and around and around, but thank you for listening.
I want to remind people that Lily has that defined head ajna, and Lawrence has that too, but no connection to her throat. And she has a gate 23 that's called fragmentation. So sometimes she'll her thoughts will come out fragmented, but it's not what's going on inside of her. It's just takes her a while to get that clarity of what's going on inside being able to come out the mouth.
Yeah, and I do believe that when I'm asked, and if it does come out fragmented, there's still some valuable there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, most assuredly. Would you like to say anything, Lily, about your process in having really waited to be invited to speak pretty much always? I mean,
Pretty much.
there's not an always, but pretty much always is pretty good.
I don't know. I just noticed for my own self what it's like to have a pressure build up, and usually when it gets to a critical mass, somebody asks me something. And if they don't, then it just kind of like goes back down, it builds up and then it just kind of like dissipates after. That's what I've noticed about waiting. And I've recognized that before I would just let it spill over without being asked. But it's a pressure. I don't know if you got that. If you feel that, I don't know if Denise is still here or not, but Valia, do you feel that when you wait to be invited to speak, do you feel a pressure?
Yeah, but I don't feel it in my throat. I feel it more in my body. Like it almost builds up as like sacral pressure of like energy. Like when I need to say something and I can't because I'm not invited, to me, it's like it turns into frustration. Like I feel frustration, of like, and it's like will swap to bitterness, It's almost like this sticky thing into my body that will be like, I'm frustrated. And then it's like, oh, it's actually bitterness. Like,
I don't feel it in my throat. I do feel it probably in my midsection more than anything. And it's not bitterness anymore, basically. I mean, for the most part. I just notice it, and like, is it going to spill out because somebody wants it, or is it just there?
Yeah, it's only when I'm in those situations where I'm not recognized, and then I'm just pissed that I'm in a situation where I'm not recognized.
Do you ever leave?
Yeah, although I didn't when I was in a relationship, because it was like my brain thought I was recognized, but my body knew I wasn't recognized, right? So there was like, you talk about fragmentation, like that's essentially what happened to me in my last relationship. Like I was fragmented. Like I was here and then my body was here and I was like trying to like keep the gang together, but they were like on different planets, which again, that was my pattern because of my childhood, of truth did not match with the energy. So I'm grateful for it, but damn, it was a lot. So in those moments where I would be like, I want to just also as a woman, right? Like as a woman, like you can't always tell a man that like he's being really fucking stupid, like it's like there are ways where I don't want to emasculate. So I just need to shut the fuck up and say nothing. But what I really want to say is like, you're being stupid and this is right there and it's all there and I can see all of it and you're completely exposed and I see everything and you look stupid, So it's like, but I can't say that. So I'm just gonna say nothing, and maybe I say nothing and they see innocence, who knows what they see, but really underneath I'm like revved up of like, I want to say everything.
what would it be like though if you actually met a man that you could do that with and he
Oh,
wasn't?
my whole body just melted. Everything in me was like, oh my God. Could you
Because I think
imagine?
because I
Oh,
think we have the idea that, in it's so enculturated that, you can't be that way with a man because he would be emasculated or whatever. And I'm like, but that's just conditioning field, and it depends, of course, on their design and everything too in the relationship
yeah.
electromagnetically, but still, like, yeah, I would just
Well,
say
and
I would
that's
love that if you met a man who that didn't bother him.
yeah. It all really does come back to my definition, because if all I have is G and throat, I have to be able to express. So if I cannot express with a man, then it's not the vibe and I need to not be there, you know. So I'll just be single until then. And if I'm single until I'm 52 and whatever, then like that's what it is, you know. So it's fine because I'm so much happier when I'm in my own frequency anyway. Like shit, I'm better. I have more energy than I've had, I think, in my whole life. Like it's wild. So, oh, Kitty, hi, Kitty.
The other thing, V, and I'm going back to that you and I are on the quarter of duality. And so it's not about going fuck relationship because that would be nice. Let me just be a mutative person. Let me be conscious feel, that those two seem so much more fun to me. But what I have noticed with me, because I haven't been in like a lover relationship for quite a long time now. So I'm like, am I doing this wrong? Am I supposed to be in a relationship because I'm on the quarter of duality? However, what I've realized is that I do a tremendous amount of investigating relationship, and my motivation is a number one. And so one of our primary keynotes for a one, wherever you find it, is investigation. And so I'm looking at what works in relationship, what doesn't work in relationship, what motivates people in, I'm looking at this all the time. I'm curious about it. And so I think of you in that regard. And in the meantime, with my third line personality, I'm bumping into things and seducing things with my fifth line body. That's just like what's happening. And so for you, you would be maintaining relationships and doing the sixth line on the roof now, but you could be very much looking at the power of relationship, looking at desire in relationship. And it doesn't mean you have to be bowled under by your own desires and by all of that, but you can be seeing it. You can be in the midst of it and clocking what's going on.
And that's exactly how I feel. Like right now, all of my energy is into my network. Like all of my energy and focus is networking because I lost all of my network. So I'm rebuilding,
Nice. Nice.
And it's also sixth line things. And a lot of it is like recognizing myself and the wisdom that I have and being my own soulmate and not getting tripped up and like I need a soulmate or whatever. Like my body is my soulmate, right? So
yeah. I was talking to my body this morning. I've looked in the mirror the past few days and seen my mother's face, and I'm like, oh no, I didn't want that. But then I had quite the morning. I was moving from one place and cleaning that one, and then found out that the person was returning 3 hours before she had told me. And then I had to go to another place and walk dogs in the meantime. And then I as I was moving into this one, there's lots of mirrors. So I kept seeing myself and I just went, look at you. You've been with me my whole life. And I'm mad because you're old? Over it. You're magnificent. You're so strong. You're so, I mean, I look better in this because I optimize my appearance on Zoom, which I'm happy to do because I don't need to look at something I don't like as much. But yeah, I'm like, Yeah, this body, she's so strong and she's so she laughs, she loves laughing, and yeah, so that's just a little tidbit. I actually want to jump. The next two houses are me, and I love talking about me, but I'm going to jump ahead a little bit and go to the 10th house because Hanale is here and she hasn't been able to come, and she might not be able to come for the next couple of times because she's moving. So I want to jump ahead to the 10th house. Now let me make sure I know what I'm doing here. I'm looking at my. So Hanale, you have the 24.3 addiction. We were talking about that, which happens to be my Earth in Taurus in the 10th house. And also Lily, and that's personality. And Lily, you have the 26.4. 26.4 is both of your personality and your design, but your design is in the 10th house. And the 10th house in astrology it's called career sometimes, but also mostly called vocation. It's called the midheaven. It's the high point. It's when the sun is at the high point of the sky. So in a sense, it's how you interact with the bigger world. And so it's career, because that's generally when we go out into the world and interact. But even more, it's vocation, because you can have a vocation that is not the job you do. Some people, have a vocation to be an artist, and they be an artist as what they make money with. And other people be an artist, but then they have a day job. And so if you have the day job, which is the more mundane, would be in the 6th house. But the 10th house is that, how do you interact in the bigger world in general? So for you, Lily, this is your body, and it happens to be in Sagittarius in the 26.4. And Hanale, this is your personality in Taurus in the 24.3. So your wound is related to your career or your public image. This woundedness may be played out in the areas of business, publicity, or an individual need for recognition, appreciation, respect, and acknowledgement, which is what you were just talking about, Lily. These folks often didn't receive much recognition or respect in childhood, especially concerning their purpose and what they want to do with their lives. And Lily, one of the saddest things, one of the saddest stories I've heard you tell about your childhood was when you said I think it was you told your dad, or maybe both your parents, you wanted to be a veterinarian, and they said, "Oh, girls don't do that." It's like, I wanted to go back in time and kick them. Because both of those things are horrendous to me. First telling you couldn't do it, and then telling you because you're a girl, you can't do that.
I just want to expand on that. I told my mom, and then she must talk to my dad, and my dad said, "Oh, you might as well be in a drummer in a boys band." And and my mom had this conversation with me. She said, women shouldn't go into veterinarian because when they see birth and they see the pain of birth, they won't want to have one for themselves. And see, I knew that was fucked up, but then at 20 years old, I had my ovaries taken out and I still couldn't have kids. And I thought, the joke's on you. And to my mom and dad, it really wasn't, but that's what I thought. So that's why. Because I wouldn't have children because of the pain of birth when I watched animals have birth.
The genetic imperative is way stronger.
The thing is, I knew that was fucked up. I knew that was. So my wounding is no respect or recognition. And I would look everywhere, like, who could I go to? And then finally I just gave up. I went to no one. So yeah.
And I particularly find that story tragic because you're so good with animals, and not just, like you like them or you enjoy their company, but you actually look at them in a way to see how you can respect them and how you can work with them. And I think you actually have a gift in that regard. And so,
yeah. So that there's the wounding in a little nutshell. And then I'm interested in the personality part. Seems like
yes,
Emily and our
that's a
like
wound
always
in your body. You're speaking of dogs.
Yeah. Emily's got some dogs. I saw your little video today. They're so cute along the lake. Yeah. They're running
It
around.
was a seaside, actually. I was on an island.
was-
We have an
I
island
saw.
here.
Couldn't
Yeah, it's
tell.
just for the dogs. It's really nice.
Nice.
Seaside.
So,
Yeah.
Hanale, do you relate because this for you, Lily, it's your body, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And Hanale, it's your personality. Do you relate to that at all?
I do, but I don't have anything in my childhood. Like, if anything, I was more than recognized by my parents about my I don't know, I'm just thinking that it's a Nashnagate, so it's about opinions and being able to formalize things. So I think my mom was always encouraging that. I don't really have a wound from my childhood, but I do see that I definitely have a wound in terms of career and publicity and all of this stuff. Like it's been a huge issue. Like I wouldn't say an issue, but there's some kind of a pain attached to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really relate to that. I mean, I've always ended up in jobs, for example, where I could have fixed so many problems there, and then nobody wanted that. Nobody saw me. They saw me, but they didn't want my input. So I always ended up like twiddling my thumbs and seeing how things are wrong, and I can't fix it because nobody wants it. It was really painful.
Yeah.
Partly why I left the kind of the hamster wheel, working for companies and stuff, because it was just frustrating. Yeah.
And what would you say that there's a career that you would like to have? Like a call or a vocation?
Yeah,
You want to?
I do. Well, it's all about the awareness and the body and consciousness, and I don't really have a label for it, but I have a lot of qualifications. I've done so many. Like, this is something that I spoke with my friend about, like, only last week. Like, I feel so frustrated because I have so many. I spend a lot of money. I'm a personal trainer. I'm an exercise professional. I'm a massage therapist, a human design guide, and all these stuff that I've like invested in. I'm not doing anything with it. Like, okay, I'm teaching yoga. That's something, but it's not really a job that kind of pays me a lot of money. It's like I just survive by it, and it's annoying because I know that I could do so much and I could offer so much, but what am I going to do with it? If nobody's asking, or I can't go about it alone and stuff like that. So I don't really know what to do with it. So it's kind of just I think when I went to Romania and I had that year, I mean, it was a interesting year in all ways, but this was kind of a time where I just let go of needing to do anything with that, and I just allowed all of that to be gone. Like, okay, who cares? Yeah, I owe money for my schools and stuff, and I'm never gonna probably be a PT or something again, and fuck it, you know. But it's still painful.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Lily. Yeah.
I have this little saying here, and I don't know if it pertains, but somehow it speaks to me because I have many, many investing in practices and studies and stuff, and I don't do anything. And this is if the beginning is not right, myriad practices will be useless. And I'm wondering if I go back into my life, how I entered into them. But see, I'm a projector too as well. So as a generator, I suppose.
I think about that too.
Do you?
I've said the same things that Hanalei has had. Like, good God, the amount of money, time, resources, energy, years of my life I spent mastering crafts that I don't utilize now. I mean, like, I spent 5 years in the wine industry. The fuck can you do with that? Like, I can smell things. Like, literally, it's like the most, if you could think of the most pointless thing to study for 5 years, like, that would be one. So it is about, I think about that too. Like, was it correct when you entered those? And then if so, how is it correct to utilize those things now?
I
Well,
think
I
about
actually did.
Go ahead.
Ooh. I actually had a 10-year career, if you want to call it, as a massage therapist, and I never became rich by doing it, you know, but I think I was pretty good, you know. I never promoted myself. I never did any of that. I think people just found me somehow, and then they told other people, "Oh, go see that one." And then in England, I was, you know, I was surviving and being okay with just doing that. But I did it for 10 years, and then as I moved to Finland, and it's a bit of a different story here to be self-employed. So I quit. It's just like pointless. I mean, I would make peanuts because my qualifications are done abroad, so the government doesn't really recognize them. So I'd have to do all my courses again, and I'm like, I'm a bit too proud, you know, like I have 10 years experience and I'm pretty good. Like I'm not going to go back to school just to prove to them that, you know, I can do this. So I'm like, fuck you, and I'm an anarchist anyways. I'm like, fuck it all. I'll just do cash in hand for friends if they want it. But yeah.
you know, with my head channel going back to the past and coming forward, I think it might be just like put it out there valuable to really look at each thing that's been studied and see how you entered into it, and and bring it forward to the present and see where it sits in a person now, you know. Because
I
you know,
also had
go ahead.
just going back to what Valia said about doing 5 years winery, and now she has a great smell. And but the thought that went through my mind was, you never know at what point in your life that could become really significant. Maybe for one conversation with one person who because you went through that study and you have that ability, could lead you somewhere else. That's what came up for me.
That's true.
And not just your example, but you know, anybody's example. You just never know.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's also, I
Go
was
ahead.
going to say, it's also part of the sixth line experience. Because
Exactly.
you have that third line, which has to try everything and, you know, trying to do its mastery, you know, and sometimes I also have done a million studies and a million jobs and a million things, all of which now actually are coming into play. Like
Yeah.
I think each thing that I've done now off the roof is a whole other story. But they all are part of it. No, there was nothing wasted. There was nothing, even things that I did enter into incorrectly, somehow now are feeding me in some way or feed other people.
I love that. That's really good to hear. Thank you. Because I think it's like maddening, like especially now because I'm fresh onto the roof looking back, and I'm like, why did I waste my energy on that? Like, oh my gosh, because I see other people around me and like they might have been more focused and maybe they spent 10 years mastering something that they actually can utilize. And I'm like, oh man, that would be great. But you're so right. It's the sixth line. It's the sixth line journey. Hanalei, are you a 6'3"?
No, I'm a 3'5".
Oh, 3'5". Okay.
Yeah.
So you have the third line of that. That's going to do it
the third
forever.
line.
In a way.
The third
I
line
don't have the
never
third line.
ends.
I don't have the third line, and I've done a lot. I mean, I've been a worm farmer. I've been all kinds of
A
things.
worm farmer?
Yeah.
interesting. Lily's
Like worms, like the
surprised
things
me.
in the ground.
Growing worms, yeah.
Growing
Oh,
worms. You
wow.
have one of those little stacked.
Like, why
Yeah.
does that sound really interesting? I'm like, did you do like silks with it? I'm like, what did you do? That's so interesting.
You just cultivate them and sell them. You know, I think it would be interesting for everyone, for me anyway. I would like to know if everyone eventually just could sit down and list the things that they've done and studied, and maybe share them on the Facebook site so we could just get
Okay,
a
but the thing about me is that I actually have forgotten the things that I've mastered and studied, unless you pull it out of me. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes something will come out of me and I'm like, oh, I forgot I spent like 4 years studying that. Like, that's the really scary thing about rightness. Because unless
Oh,
it's pulled out of me, it's gone. I don't have access to it at all. Like, I literally just remembered, I'm like, oh wow, I studied with this teacher, this teacher, this teacher. I forgot about them. I
But the
literally
thing
forgot.
is, if you grease the wheel a little bit and actually write it down like on your notes on your phone, one day you remember this, and then just go about your life, and then something else comes in.
It'll
Oh,
have to pop up and then I'll have to
Yeah.
log it over time.
same
Yeah.
for me, the pop-up part. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Now,
that was just
also,
a suggestion.
something that occurs to me, again, in a conversation Lawrence and I were having, and he's been seeing how he's hidden himself. He has that wounding on his face and then he hides, so the wounding doesn't show, in a nutshell. And
Yeah.
we were talking about the second line and how you actually have to be seen to get called. And I'm wondering about you, Lily, with that second line, and having that non-recognition as part of your childhood and wounding, and not coming out as much on the public stage, if that's a way that you have kept yourself from being called because you haven't found ways, or haven't whatever ways to show yourself so that you can be seen to be called.
Probably.
That was a good answer.
Your probabilities. Yeah, she's like.
She's probably
Like them.
yes, exactly. Exactly. Food for thought. Anyway, and I like that idea. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make a list. Of course, I love that.
like
I
to say
just finished
something.
making a list of all the places I've been, probably forgot some, and all the places I want to go. So I actually love making lists. I'm going to make a list of that. I want to bring in the sixth house because it's the dynamic of the sixth house. Again, the sixth house is kind of that day-to-day stuff. It's the day job that isn't necessarily the big vocational job. And it's also health and kind of the day-to-day world. And Dionise, you have the sixth house Chiron. Let me go back and find out. Jan has it in his body Chiron, but he's not here. And you, Dionise, your Chiron is in the sixth house. So I'll read a little bit about that because it's kind of nice to do the 6 and 10 together because they both have that work-related business. And Lily, this is your personality. Okay, I can hear you. Okay, good. Your woundedness plays out in the workplace or through working with the community. You will see your wound show up most often where you spend your days, work, school, etc. This can be a ridicule of creative talents. Some people remember feeling different from other children in school. We were talking about that, Dee. Or felt that their wound showed up over and over in the workplace, no matter how hard they tried to hide it. Alternatively, Chiron in the sixth might also appear in the areas of medicine, health, or disease. Sometimes a sixth house wound will show up both in day-to-day matters and health-related problems. This placement can also create OCD if Chiron is in a sign that's relevant. And the sixth house emotional issues often become physical after a time. There must be balance of work and play. There can also be frequent disruptive moves as a child or a chaotic home. And it's important to heal the nervous system. So again, that's Dionise, your body, and Lily, your personality. Did I get that right? I keep going back and forth. Yeah. So Lily, I find it interesting just off the bat that both of your Chirons are in the houses that have to do with work.
Mm-hmm.
And Dionise, we were just talking about, you know, some of the things that you have had struggles with your health, and even because of that, feeling different than other people when you were in school. So would either of you like to say anything about any of that?
E?
Sure. I mean, I was a weird kid. I mean, so some things that we discussed earlier was like, oh, was I a clumsy kid? And yes, I was, but I don't think it was because of a third line. I think it was because I had fibromyalgia as a child. So I fell a lot. Like my family literally jokes that I had like a love affair with the floor. But in school, that didn't really make room for me to be very popular. And I actually liked picking on the boys. I would chase them around the yard. I remember that. And I was always the teacher's pet. That was fun. So also did not make me very popular with the other kids if I was grading their papers.
You're still the teacher's pet.
I know. I know. So like that was very much a lot of my experience growing up. But I also think growing up in a very like religious household for me played a role in it, because I was like, you know, how the fuck you explain to like 10-year-olds that like I can't wear pants in gym class because my religious grandparents won't allow me to. And I have to only wear skirts. So I'm like the one kid wearing a skirt in gym class, and it's like, what the fuck is a skirt? Unless you play tennis, you don't fucking know. You know, so there's like other factors outside of my personality or my body that led to some of that, but nonetheless, like I just also just felt awkward as a kid growing up. I much preferred hanging out with adults. Like actually like really old people, I was like fucking cool. Like that was my jam.
How old
like
were
my
really
great grandma
people then?
I mean, like my great grandma was 113 when she died, and she died when I was 13. So like I've only known her in her elder, like really old age. Yeah, I think she was like 99 when I was born. So that old. Like really old. Or like 40s and 50s, or like, yeah, my mom's friends who were like even older than my mom, they were like in their 60s. Yeah, that they were my people more than younger folks. I really just didn't really like people my age. I thought they were dumb. I know that sounds really mean. I can't have loosely hear that, but like really, I thought they were dumb.
I think all projectors feel that way about their
I
peers.
think so too. I think they just don't want to admit that they have judgment towards humanity. Their little Buddhist heart can't take it.
I thought the same thing.
It's so true. Was
Yeah.
was that
There's such a
getting
thing
at
as
the thing
projector
about
snobbery.
childhood and the Chiron?
The sixth
Was that the
house.
question?
And so the gate that's in is the 12, line 6. So again, it's another, Denise has more 6s than anyone I've ever seen. And we just rectified her chart and she has more. Uh-huh. So, you know, the 12-6, that's going to be, that's a throat gate. What is it, Lily?
Oh, I know I can try or not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the 16?
12.
Excuse me?
12
Okay.
line 6.
Yeah,
I
16.
know we talked a little bit about this like 2 weeks ago when we
Yeah.
did my
Yeah. So
thing, but
clearly there was a lot of this is in your body, Chiron, because a lot of that you talked about was your body, what it had to wear and
Mhm.
and how people were responding to that. Yeah.
Well, and then being so so the whole thing about the shyness, right, versus like the bold thing, like I would wear my bra into the shower for so long, like, and no one ever told me I had to, but I just like, I was very like reserved. I didn't want anyone to look at me while I was like developing, and I found old men who would like, you know, catcall or whatever to be super gross. But then, you know, I did like really drastic things. Like the day before I started high school, I dyed my hair blonde and like a bold move. Or like, you know, it's like I went to a Mama Gina event and I like just wore tassels on my boobies and like I was like nudist galore. So like in safe spaces, I feel like I will be more bold with my body. If it feels safe, then I'll definitely be way more bold.
Where
Yeah, like I'll just
picking up this with these words, I think, because we have rectified her from a 6-3 to a 6-2. And she's been looking back at how there's this shyness that's prevalent, but then a bold coming out. I see you relating to that, Philippe.
Can I just ask how much of a difference is the timing when you rectified it?
An hour.
about an hour.
Wow. And where did you get your time before?
So both my mom, but not like the exact time, but she talked to me about the experience, and then my birth certificate, because we had to order it. So my birth certificate says 4:48 p.m. But my mom said it was just getting dark outside. So Tierra and I did some sleuthing and found out that the sun set around 5:28 that day, the day I was born, which means it would have been getting dark around 3:45. Like starting to get dark. Like the sun, you know, and especially in New York in February, it's really gray. So my mom could have just been like, "Oh, it's ugly and gray outside." It was dark. So yeah, my mom thought it was like 7 o'clock.
Sorry.
Which
Yeah,
would have made me a
she was
generator.
born in New York in a busy hospital. And
yeah,
there's not even an iota of me that thinks that people take into account perfection in putting birth times on charts. In the States, half the charts more than half don't even have the time.
Yeah.
And so if they're not
and even
filling in that stuff until the next day or the few hours later,
even my dad said like he had to help the nurse like deliver me because there was no doctor available to deliver me when I was like popping out the badge. So, I mean, I don't talk to my dad enough to like ask him hour anymore, but I think that would be the only way to get more accuracy. But I actually think the 6'2" is way more accurate in terms of my personality and how I show up in the world than the 6'3".
Yeah.
Even with like, so I don't know if you noticed, like there was darkness in the room and then there was light again. So I ate in the dark just now and it was wonderful.
And and the thing that clued her in actually was that as a 6'3", she would be an appetite person, which is one thing at a time. And she's been trying to do it for what, 3 years now? When did we first talk about it? And she's like, finally, she called me today. She goes, I can't do it. Can we revisit my birth time? Because you'd think that if my body wanted to do this, I'd be able to do it.
Mm.
And
Why
Yeah.
does it change your, sorry, I'm just curious also about the motivation, what it changes to.
the motivation
It stays
stays the same,
Okay.
but the cognition and the PHS changed from taste to touch also.
Mm.
And that seems to fit.
Yeah, I love eating finger foods.
So wait, your determination now is lights and direct?
Indirect light,
Indirect.
cognition,
Yeah.
touch. Yeah.
Wow,
Oh, that's huge.
that
Yeah.
is huge.
And like my favorite food is Ethiopian, and usually Ethiopian restaurants have very dim lighting.
Yeah.
And you eat it with your fingers.
Yeah.
Do you remember over your growing up that this was more of a tendency rather than the one thing at a time?
Oh yeah, I've always liked finger foods.
Yeah.
Like it's a thing. Yeah. I actually growing up I was like, why are utensils necessary? And I even had a nana who would spoon feed me till I was like 13. I kid you fucking not. Because I wouldn't want to pick up a spoon. I just was like, no.
Good old Nana. Aw.
Fucked up Nana.
Oh.
I
Do you
mean,
eat? I eat food with my fingers, even in restaurants, and it's so
oh, yeah.
natural to me that nobody even notices, or at least they
I
don't say
don't
anything.
think I don't care.
Same.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the
I
things
was
I cannot
actually
stand is eating with my fingers. Like it is just
Oh, I hate it. I hate it so
completely
much.
ruins my experience of eating.
Yeah, me
Really,
too. Other than
I
pizza,
literally
I could do
like
pizza.
I go like this to the bowls and then I lick it.
Oh,
It's like the
too.
best fucking thing in the world. It's like the
Me
last like
too.
just
Love,
get in
love
there.
that.
I need to eat with my hands too. I do it most of the time.
I can do either.
Hanale, what is yours?
I'm outer vision and direct light.
Okay.
No doubt at all. It's so me. I
Mhm.
create really pretty foods. I take pictures of them and I enjoy looking back at, oh, that was nice.
Nice. Yeah, I can see the direct light. Everyone I know that has direct light, it's like their energy kind of feels like the sun, you know? Yeah, I see that.
I remember I always liked eating during the day. Like one of my favorite things is like going to, like in England, for example, I used to go to a pub when it's really sunny and just really go to the most direct spot and eat then, and
Mm.
it was always beautiful. When I realized I'm direct light, it was like, yes, yes, it's exactly what I want to do.
well, that's what
great.
I was hearing with Dionise today. It's like I would say something and she was going, yes, yes. So there's a new experiment going on now.
That's exciting.
Now,
It's really exciting. I have a cousin whose birth time was wrong by like 2 or 3 minutes, and he changed one of her channels. And I remember seeing the change in her. I mean, she went from, it was originally, she was supposed to have 4816, and she never related to that. And then she ended up having the 3536 instead because the moon had moved.
wow.
And it was a massive difference. As like, she's like completely, everything just like locked into place, like fell into place.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she totally is at 35, 36. Like there's no
Yeah.
doubt. And so
I
it's
remember
really
when,
exciting
when I landed
because
with Jan. Yeah.
because she'd been in the experiment for like, I don't know, like 7 years or something before that, and then she figured that out, and it's like it's a huge thing. Like you get to live your design like from a fresh
Yeah.
experience or something.
Well, and Max
The
is
only thing that,
now.
Max is right here.
Yeah.
oh yay, hey Max.
Max.
He's now a 5'2".
Yeah. How do
Baby.
you experience the two, Max?
How do I experience the shift?
By the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of have a spiritual perspective on it, that the universe just wanted to fuck with my identity a little bit. You know, I've had so related to Sixth Line for 20 years that I've been feeling into my relationship with my fifth line friends, and you know, in the projection field. And it's kind of interesting. It doesn't feel like like wow, that's so good, that's so right. It's pretty theoretical for me. And the main thing it shifts is my cognition from left to right. So like today I'm being like super strategic, planning an auction that we're doing tonight for Philippe's birthday, you know, really super focused. And some days I'll be just in that relaxed, no mind space of you know, right, just the right cognition of just absorbing everything. But I can't really say that one feels absolutely true and the other doesn't. I also had one channel shift.
Really?
Mm.
What was it?
I had the 10. My moon was in the 10 and it moved to I think the 12. I don't know. So I think it moved backwards.
11.
The 1020 was my only conscious channel, and one that I've built a lot of my life around. So it's kind of interesting to say that all that was maybe never there. Yeah.
Wow.
When did you find out all of this?
It was a
How
few
long
weeks ago, and I wrote to HD, and they gave me the explanation that they're using a different software.
His chart just changed
Ah.
on the
Yeah, and I had
Oh,
seen
wow.
the chart. I had seen the other chart previously on through Gene Keys. I thought it was wrong, but so I had this conversation, and one of my friends, Janice, who's kind of geeky, we investigated. Like I was born in a army camp. So Jason says, well, army camps are always on wartime. They don't use daylight savings. They use wartime. And there's this other conversation about that. But basically, according to the Louisiana records, I should be a 5'2".
And also
So-
you could be a 5'2" and still have the 1020 in one of the 4 options that I created.
Oh yeah, I haven't checked that out yet. So that's interesting because that would be a different time within that.
Yeah, I took the 1 hour, the other hour, and then I went through to see what would change within that hour. Because I do not believe birth times on birth certificates, period. The only one
Right.
I've ever seen that seemed absolutely accurate was some German woman. And I thought, well, German, yeah.
Uh-huh. Or the parents are into
Swiss.
the parents are into
I
human
don't
design.
take for granted
A lot of
any birth time that's on a birth certificate.
Yeah, unless like you said, unless there's a human design parents or
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
astrology parents who are
Like
Right,
my
but, yeah.
mother, I asked her what time I was born, and a long time ago, she goes, 7:48 at night. I said, how do you know that? Like, it surprised me that she just like immediately, she goes, I looked at my watch, or I looked at the clock. Maybe there's a clock on the wall. And that was different.
Yeah,
than
accurate.
the certificate said still. It wasn't that far off. It was like 10 minutes off or something. But those kind of things are great because then you have someone that was there that actually paid attention. Or even Dion's mom saying, yeah, it was just getting dark. you know,
Right.
that helps.
Doesn't include.
I
Sure.
mean,
I'm really lucky because my mom is very like oriented to times and new numbers. She knows all about time to a minute, and she's forever since I was being a kid. She always reminds me, "Oh, you were born at that time. You
Yeah.
were born at that time."
Yeah.
You know, so I just knew it. Yeah.
I just had the numbers. I was essentially born at the same date, like time as the date. Like I was, my birthday's 8/8, and then I was born basically at 8 o'clock. So my mom like
Wow.
remembered, oh, it was 8, and so 8, 8, 8, like it just 8 was everywhere. So
Right.
like
And
it
you're
makes
an 8-1.
yeah, and I
Yeah, I was gonna say you one idea.
exactly.
I
And
tend to believe
dissected it.
mine.
What?
I tend to believe mine because it was a nurse fresh out of nursing school, and I was her first birth. And she's the one that wrote on there. Her name was Mabel Martin, and she wrote 7:31 a.m. So I tend to believe it because she was so enthralled.
She was so
She got
in the process.
Yeah. Right.
She was trying to do it right too. Probably.
Wow.
What'd
I
you
mean,
say?
she was trying to do
Philippe?
it right.
Yeah.
I said she was probably trying to do it right as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
And
it's
yeah,
just a good experiment to look at what you would be if
Yeah.
you weren't, which I've done. And it's like if I was born much later, I would be left strategic. And I'm like, there's no fucking way. Like, there's no fucking way I'm strategic. You know, some of the other stuff maybe, but like, there's no way I would be strategic.
I was supposed to be, I had already had the time as 4:30. And when I first did all the colors and tones things, it came out that at 4:30 I would be cold thirst.
Mm.
And then if I changed it 12 minutes, I was a hot thirst, and there was no, I mean, I've always hated cold things in my mouth since I was a
Yeah, you
kid,
still
you know.
have that, yeah.
If it's really hot outside, I'll put something cool in my mouth, but that's it. And like I'm sitting out here in the sun, and I just had a delicious hot smoothie that Max made, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, so I knew my time was 4:18 because that's right where it
Love that.
was.
Yeah.
Well, it could be earlier.
Or it could be earlier.
For
true.
Max too, it's interesting because if you remember, I pulled up his chart on Genetic Matrix like last year, and it said he was a 5/2. And then
Yeah,
you're
that's
like,
right.
oh, because like you're so close that some pull to that and others don't. So
And
It's interesting for
curious
me.
about- go ahead.
I was just gonna say, for me, the 5/2 is I've been like sitting with it and chewing on it a little bit, and I kind of buy that, but it's hard for me to swallow that he's an innocence motivation.
Oh, why not?
It just doesn't fit with all the other innocent motivation people I know.
Max, what was the who changed their timeline? I mean, how did you come about this again? I missed.
Most recently, Lily, it was we use my body graph and have all of our friends' charts in there. And I just looked at it one day, and the chart had shifted. And they said they had, I think it was around February, that they had changed their whatever
Ephemeris?
algorithm, yeah, the ephemeris that they use. And then Jason, who is a human design geek, he said, well, the people running IGHS are both third line, and they're trial and error, and I'm not going to change anything because they probably have it wrong, and they're probably just experimenting, and we'll find out what really happens. So he's going with the old school method, but he, as a practitioner, he does check everyone's birth time according to the state and place, particularly if it's during daylight savings, or if it's around April, May, or September, October. So he looks into all that.
Wow.
Which again is interesting because like we don't do that. We kind of just say, oh, this feels right.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I want to say, Philippe, is that Max would still have the ones on his design side. So, you know, that would still be a prevalent thing because you'd be seeing in his body the cavey thing and the appetite thing. So
Yeah, definitely.
that's that. And then the other thing, Max, that I'm really curious about and is that how much of your ability to strategize is actually being logical and is actually being a planner. I'm a really good planner. I'm not strategic at all. And
Yeah.
how much of it have you just pressured yourself to be able to do that? Because we were all pressured to do that. Every single one
Yeah.
of us has
For
been
sure.
told to be strategic our whole life. And so, yeah, I like that you're just relaxing into seeing what's there and seeing if you can identify, are you being strategic or are you planning? Are you being logical?
Mhm.
Those are
Because he has logical circuitry, you mean?
well, it's just a different thing. And yeah, he does have logical circuitry.
And a lot of, first and sixth lines. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because I can't not, I mean, all the for me, like having right mind, like I've never been able to be strategic about anything that's not physical. Like as hard as I try, it's just impossible.
And the thing about being strategic, as I understand it, is you are never not. You
Right.
can't turn off being strategic. Every thought you have is going to be strategic. Denise and I were in our conversation today. She goes, Lucius sometimes says, stop strategizing at me, because every single thought that she's having is a strategic thought. Now, she can't stop being strategic with every thought she has, but she cannot talk all of them.
Yeah. So then
Who else here has a strategic mind?
Lawrence, and I see it all the time. He tries not to show it, but in the tiniest little things, like, well, what time are you going to be there? I'm like, I don't know what the fuck time I'm going to be there. Doesn't even occur to me to think what time I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there when the train gets there and after I walk.
And I think that's part of not wanting to be seen as well. And I mean, I was literally just in the bathroom thinking about that, listening to the conversation in the background at the same time. And sorry, the thought just tried to disappear. So I literally, when we were talking about being strategic, and this went on for about 6 months, and I did not want to be seen as strategic.
Yeah.
I fought against it. And I'm still aware of that part, all the different parts of me that do not want to be seen. And that's just one piece. So now I'm just going, oh, that's the way it is. So let's just accept it and see what happens next. Because I can't be called out unless I'm seen. So if I'm not willing to be seen, then I'm just fucking myself over continually.
Particularly
I'm going,
mine, who needs to be seen to be called.
yeah.
what's your profile, Paul Lawrence?
2-4. So waiting for the
Lawrence, is there a fear that if you're truly seen, that something bad would happen? Yeah.
What I've seen, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was at my cafe that I go to, and the owner was rushed, and young guy, he's like my son, and he, the son I never had, and he was just rushed. And at some point, I made a decision that I must have said something wrong to one of the staff members or done something wrong, and he was upset with me, and blah, 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 blah. So that 41st gate of fantasy went off on a fucking field day. So I just called him over and said, have I done anything that's upset you? And he went, no, I'm just really busy. Sorry, mate, I'm just really busy. But what I saw was how I create these scenarios of things that are going to happen that are in no way true at all, but they're a great way of hiding and not being seen, because I'm scared I'm scared of this thing happening if I am seen, but this thing doesn't exist in the first place. So I'm really seeing how my mind fucks me up with these silly little insidious ideas. And the thing I want to really point out now, from what Tierra has been teaching me over the last couple of years around colors and what to wear to be seen. So this is all fitting in with the first house of how I'm seen and how people see me, etc. I'm really happy because what I see now is all I have to do is wear the colors and the style that have me be seen, and then I'll be seen, and then things will just work out.
Oh wow.
It seems that simple to me right now.
Yeah.
And I've seen the resistance to doing it. I mean, for 2 years, Tierra's been saying to me, I fucking hate that jacket. Why'd you wear it? Because I love it. Because I want
Not
it.
that I
I
hate
love the
it.
jacket.
It's not that I hate it.
No, it's just, but now I'm actually getting to a point of, oh shit, I might be throwing 99% of my wardrobe.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
okay. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. And it's about being seen. And it's so funny to look at it and go, well, how the fuck can I be seen if I don't want to be seen?
Yeah.
But this has given me a focus point. That's what I'm trying to say, that seeing that this is the problem and being given a focal point of what I wear to be seen correctly is so wonderful, because I don't have to do anything but that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's even come down to Tierra for months not knowing this and then going, now I get it. It's not that I don't like that jacket as much as it's too fucking long because of my body type. If I wear a suit an old-fashioned style suit jacket, it makes my legs look short.
Oh.
And silly little things like this have been just sort of popping up
That's great.
to the point where I literally, I cut the bottom off a shirt yesterday, took it down to laundry and re-hemmed it with, what do you call that stuff, Tierra?
Stitch
Nickety
witch.
spickety. Stitch twitchety. So I went and I cut the bottom off and I ironed it on with this stickety schwittety stuff. And I look in the mirror and go, fuck, it's so fucking obvious. When the shirt was 4 inches longer, it just doesn't work. And yet for years I've been, so it's being seen.
And it's
So
so
I just
interesting
see
because
it like,
it's
whatever
so
house
interesting with the fourth line.
Sorry?
Oh, I was just saying, because you have the fourth line in you, so you have to be seen by your
Right.
network.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
you
Yeah.
so it's always the struggle I noticed with the two
Yeah.
fours. The 2 4s, because it's, waiting to be called out, but and the fourth, but being so shy. And I think the fourth line maybe makes the second line even more shy.
I
'Cause
know.
it's so
I
out
think
there.
it's one of the
It has
most
to be.
conundrum. Yeah. I think the
Yeah.
2-4 is the biggest conundrum.
That's
Yeah.
what I always.
Before we get to our
Because-
end time, because I want to stay, we can go as long as we want after the end time, talking about whatever human design we want. But we have 50 more minutes till we're basically done. And I want to go back to highlight with your Chiron in the 24.3, which is the line of addiction. And it's that loop that will go around and around and around and around and around and around until it mutates, and wonder what insight you might have about that in terms of your own wounding, career, and all of that stuff.
I don't know if it's to do with I can't really relate it to the wounding. I mean, the career stuff, but I really have a thing with addictions. Like, for example, well, I'm okay with alcohol now. I kind of cracked the code on that one. Sorry, I have to close the door because there's airplanes going by and they're really fucking loud. With alcohol, for example, I would really struggle quitting drinking. I mean, I wasn't like really drinking, but I could never stop, and I would be in a loop of having a few every day or something like that. And I used to have to get to a point where I would intoxicate myself so much so that I would hate myself the next morning, so that I would be done with it. And then I would go like, I don't know, half a year or something without drinking. And then the cycle would begin again. And then I would just drink and drink and drink and drink until just have to do it so much that I hate myself. And then I would quit. And it's the same thing with like when I take it back to, I don't know, sugar, weed, all of that stuff. It's like I get into a loop, I get into a habit. And I know it's a mental habit, you know, the 24 is in the head, I mean, in the ashna. So I will do it until I'm done with it. Like suddenly there's a mutation, then I'm out, like it's gone. So I don't know how I can't really relate that to the career side of it, because it's like I can see the wounding in both aspects, but they don't click together
Okay.
somehow.
Well, let me read some of the
Yeah.
24.3 and see if something
Mm-hmm.
this is the
Okay.
and this is my earth, so I'm actually personally interested in this line. It's a confusing line to me. The line of adaptation here, both the resonances from the emotional side and the splenic side is bonds made and broken. This becomes very difficult. It becomes a hooking into and a snapping out of the knowing process. Lawrence has this too in the whole channel. This can be very difficult. The gate is called returning. It is about going through the process of figuring out what is knowable, what you can know, what is worth knowing. It's called the addict, the powerful attraction of regressive forms, which is kind of what you were just speaking to. The exaltation, the ultimate, though difficult triumph over regression, and the detriment, addiction and regression legitimized by success. It sounds like you were kind of speaking to both of that. The third line has the capacity to reach out to the other side, though it can be very irresponsible in the way it does that. It wants the 61. That is all it keeps hooking into the inspiration of the 61, and then it breaks the bond with inspiration. After a while, this becomes very irrational because there is no real work at making it rational. I don't know why I find it really funny. It is irresponsible. It does not matter whether that I know is knowing or not. That can bring a lot of success for somebody. I know the name of God. I will tell you about it. It is irrational because we cannot know that name. At the same time, success can be legitimized, can legitimize that kind of illusion. I know what is unknowable. These individuals have an enormously difficult time because when you meet a 24-3,
Hey.
huh?
Sorry, my dogs are bothering me, so I just told them to go to fuck themselves.
If you meet a 24-3 and they don't get to the throat naturally, especially through the 43-23, their ability to explain themselves is deeply limited, and they end up sounding like abstract people, whereas this is individual. They end up asking you to believe them. They are just interested in the constant flow of inspiration. They are looking for the other side and try to rationalize it for a moment, and then they go over to the next thing. They can be very good in debunking people. When they mature, they can recognize false knowers and are very valuable for that. They know just who is making a show to get other people's attention. I'm curious, Lily, because Lily, you know me really well, and I don't see all of that in me. I actually haven't struggled with addiction in the same way, you know, to substances like that. But can you bring any insight into this line in general as my personality son, and maybe what Hanalei has said as well, Lily?
Well, is addiction just physical?
Huh?
Is this in the body?
Well, Hanalei, is this your body? Now I gotta look.
My personality.
We talked about it.
It's
very
personality
mental.
for both of us.
Yeah.
And it's also, even if it's in the body, it's still a mental,
Right.
it's a
Right.
mental,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's very, it's a mental addiction thing. I
Mhm.
know that watching, like Max has this as well, not the third
That's
line, but
Max's personality son. That's right.
right. And so, but what I've seen in you, Tiara, is, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt Lily because you
Go
addressed,
ahead. Get the wheels
Um,
going.
is that when you get into a thought pattern, you can't get out. Like it's
Uh-huh.
when if you're in a thing and you're like trying to figure it out, trying to figure it out, and it just loops and loops and loops until something breaks it. So I've seen that with you before, and Max the same. It's a similar thing. It's just this kind of looping thought part that's
Yeah.
trying to figure it out, and then it
It's like a
with
glitch.
both of you that it sends you into need. Like that.
Yeah, I resonate with that.
Yeah.
And I think what I've worked with this quite a bit, the 24, like the thought loop to me is painful. So if I recognize that my head hurts and just relax my head, my ajna, like the substance addiction is trying to work with the pain because it actually
Mm.
hurts. So,
Mm.
or the feeling of need or the feeling of desire, whatever our trajectories are. So there's something about like letting go of this. For me, it's like a part of my synapsal electromagnetic structure. That's like a record that's got a scratch in it. And then I just let go of the whole paradigm and do something like not related to what I'm thinking about, because it will drive me to some addictive behavior. And in the gene key, like in the I Ching, the 24 is return, almost like you're returning, but you're returning to repair a mistake. So it's not just that you're returning arbitrarily, but you're returning to get clear on something which you were not clear of in the past. So there is a purpose in it.
Yeah. It's almost like that is the describing the mental process of how people do science. You know, you kind of, you have this idea and you do go over and over and over and over again to try to prove it or to understand it.
Once you know.
So,
Well,
yeah,
that is
so
the part I've seen in me.
yeah.
I've seen that. And I have actually not found I can do anything about it. Because once my head hits that pillow, if it's there, it's there. I can watch a show, and not listen to it, or listen to Raw instead or something. But I haven't.
Sometimes you seem to, have reached out to one or another of us,
Oh yeah.
and it's helped you to get a reflection of, oh, okay, yeah, this thinking is not going anywhere.
Well, there's something about the third line too, is trial and error. So it's trying to, on a physical level, to make something work. Materialism. But the reason I'm saying that is the solution may not be actually in the material realm. Like you say, there might be nothing that can be done. So can we surrender or not?
Well, as I understand it, it's mutative. And so the only thing that can be done is wait for the mutation, and you do whatever you do until it mutates.
Yeah.
What I noticed with the biggest thing that happened in my life about this was my relationship with David, which some of you have heard about. And I actually did everything for a full year that I could do, from trying to just give it up, from cutting cords, from shamanic healing, from, all the things that I had in my arsenal to try and stop this loop in my mind of, how could he say this and then do that? How could he do this and then say that? It's like, I couldn't get it. And it only ended when I was actually able to go to him and say, you said this and then you did that. Can you link those two things for me? And he did. And then it was over. I wish it wasn't. I wish I could have done something by myself for myself to end that loop, but the loop did not end until I actually could understand it, until I could have the knowing in terms of, you know, that channel of knowing. Okay, I know it now.
Which channel?
Those two things can be in one person.
Which channel is that, Tiara?
We're talking about the gate 24, line 3 particularly.
Okay.
2461.
Yeah, which is part of the.
I'll write in cafes, so I'll walk around. Again, I really enjoy the marketplace like Philippe does, but I'll walk around a cafe to sit next to somebody that I feel I can connect to my head with.
Nice.
Like we were just with 4 children, and they were like da 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 da, and then they left, and I'm like, oh, I guess I have to move. But again, it's just a feeling. Then at least the mind relaxes because there's a connection.
Because it hooks up. Yeah, my friend Sherry, who I just did the Camino with, she's a 61 and just a hanging 61, and both of us are open head ajna, and we will just go into shit together. It's phenomenal, actually. My left brain and her left mind, we just go. We don't stop. We just go and go. She wants to stop walking. That's the problem. I don't like walking. Yeah. And then I was also thinking, and I was going to talk to you about this, Lily, because I have this awareness that's been building in me that with my personal view, when I ask the question, how can they? It can often just be totally distraction. And like it happened this morning, I was putting a duvet in a duvet cover, and it was the most difficult duvet experience I've ever had. It was so floppy and it was so big and it didn't fit right. And usually you can kind of get that corner and get that corner and then go like this. And no, I had to actually almost climb in there to it. And I'm like, why would someone want to do this? Right. And then I caught it. You're going to distraction. But then I thought, well, the person who has this is active in the environment. So it could be just one of the things that she puts her activity into. She's a projector with no motors. She's got the same channel as Valia. And I thought maybe it's just one of those things that she can put activity into without it taking a whole lot of energy. And what I realized is that when I see the question, how can you live here? How can you do that? How can you, if there's an answer, I don't go to distraction. I go to the
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, if that question can be answered, it can preempt the distraction because I actually want to know. Yeah. So
I was just thinking, Adelaide, is there
to knowing.
Yeah.
If I was driven crazy by every time I've thought, why would someone do this? Like, I would go insane. I think that thought every day, every time I leave the house, you know? Like, some people are just so fucking stupid, and it's just like, I have to just let it go. Like, I'm like, I'll never know why they do what they do. I couldn't even, like, I have to put it out of my mind.
Yeah, it's very different for me because I actually don't think people are stupid. I think transference and distraction are stupid, and I think not self stuff is stupid, but I don't necessarily think people are stupid. And it is a real question for me sometimes. And when I can have the knowing come back to me, it helps me because then I don't have to think that question anymore. So I'm sure it's a different thing for desire people than for me as a personal person, because it can really quickly to distraction.
Yeah.
Time check is 11.
Okay.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Bye, Dee.
I have to go to, I'm going to get my hair cut.
Okay, so
Happy birthday,
before you go, do you have any update? Philippe, do you have any?
Happy birthday.
Who's
Thank
today your
you.
birthday?
Uh-huh.
Happy
Solar
birthday.
return.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even remember that. I saw it on
I'm
Facebook.
now
I forgot.
Cycles.
I'm now
I'm
so we're
gonna
in the
send
process.
you, I'm gonna send you a birthday cat. I'm gonna send you a cat singing happy birthday.
Oh, that would be sweet.
You're in the process of what?
Do you have any,
Um,
do you have any update for us on Scotland?
Not yet.
Not yet. We're in a very like war kind of a thing. Max is we're having a birthday party here, and Max is doing a silent auction of stuff people donated to raise funds. I still don't have a musician. Um, I'm exploring all kinds of different things. We're still way short on the funds.
I just realized for Felipe, he's a lot crazier than I even thought he was.
because I decided to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, every now and then I was on a low wave the other day and feeling really, really guilty for causing this thing, for pulling everybody into it. This could be just a big, horrible mess. And look what I had done. And, I was pretty devastated. And Max sent me this beautiful video of what's his name?
Richard Beaumont.
Richard Beaumont telling this story that he didn't even know what he was doing, but it basically was saying to me, get the fuck to the marketplace. Because I was so distraught and despairing. And then I went to the marketplace and I spent, 3 hours or 4 hours going from place to place and talking to people. And I then felt, rejuvenated for as much as I can on the low end of the wave. But yeah, it was really interesting because the guilt hope thing is so real for me.
Mhm.
'Cause when I go into that thing, I'm just like, there's no hope. This thing is tanked. It's fucked.
Another one of Broadway's greatest flops.
Yeah, exactly.
How much more
I've
money?
already $10,000.
How much
So,
did you start out needing?
25.
So you've
Yeah,
gotten more than half.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've gone and earned a bunch of it too. But yeah, and I'm meeting with somebody today who is like a person whose professional job is to connect artists with benefactors. And
Nice.
she's a friend who really
She's
believes
brilliant.
in me, and she's quite brilliant. So I don't know.
Another
There's
3-5.
so many different little possibilities, and there's all these connections being made, and I'm just keep returning back to, the other thing is weird. I don't know whether it's a 6 line, but sometimes I look at my material and I'm like, that's so old. Like I don't really feel it anymore, my show. And then I'm gonna have to do it again for another year or
You could
something,
change it.
maybe.
You could change it all, right?
Of course. But and I have been changing it, but still it's just interesting to be like, oh,
It's a
I
very,
just enjoy it.
yeah.
So there's a lot
Life of performing
of
artists.
things, and a lot of cycles. It's weird to be, because now we're in the 53, which is the beginning of cycles, but it's felt like we're in the middle of a cycle. So they're like cycles within cycles within cycles, which can feel really like, oh no, I'm having to rev up and start this cycle again. But this cycle feels actually like it might be more, have more pressure, root pressure that feels cleaner or something. I don't know.
We'll give you an update.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I-
most of the time
Whatever
I'm
this
excited to.
turns into and becomes, I believe in you.
Mm. Thank you.
Thank you all. All right,
Yeah.
we're off.
Happy birthday.
I feel
Of
Yeah.
all of you. Thank you.
I'm going to be right back.
Me too.
Ah. Sounds like.
Recording in progress.
That's better. I was losing my cognition fast.
What do
I
you
had to-
mean?
Well, when you really have to go and you ignore the body's
Oh,
needs,
right.
then
Yeah.
you kind of lose. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
Oh, look at that.
That's a koala bear.
That's Maury.
Oh, hi,
He looks
Maury.
like
You
a
are
koala.
darling. Oh my goodness.
That's Maury.
Is he the
Huh?
Yorkshire Terrier?
That's the Yorkshire Terrier.
Good for
He has
him.
bigger
So am I.
ears than most Yorkies, so he might have something else.
Right.
His name is Maury.
Tuesdays with Maury.
That's right. So did any of that talk spark anything in you, Hanalei, about the knowing? That's what I'm realizing about that 24. It's about knowing. Knowing and not knowing. And wanting to
Yeah,
know.
I mean, you know my process with my breakup with Luca, how I was
Yeah, exactly.
not getting the peace because I didn't know what the fuck was going on. But I kind of got my answers, not from him, but from other sources kind of thing. And so I've been able to let go of that process because I have answers.
Yeah.
But I was thinking of that material side, what Max was talking about, and
Yeah.
how the third line, it's addiction into regressive forms, and it's about material and trial and error. So for me, like when I'm thinking about my addictions, like, and the mutations around that, it's like I really had to figure my own way out of the addiction.
Do you have to do something to get out of the addiction?
Well, okay, one of the good examples I have, I mean, I used to smoke tobacco, like cigarettes, for 10 years, like back in the day. And I remember not being able to quit because I didn't want to. Like, I didn't really want to quit. But I wanted, but I didn't want to. So, there's you always in this loop until I started running. And then my body mutated. I was more into running. And then I was just done with it. And I quit without anything. I didn't use any nicotine patches or anything. I just quit. And I didn't have much problems with it. I mean, you're sure you got some withdrawal symptoms, but you're able to deal with them because this is what you want. So I remember people always go, oh, how could you quit like that? And how come you didn't need anything? I'm like, well, because I was done with it. So it just made me think how, the same with sugar, same with everything, really, same with alcohol. It's like you get your answers through experience. Like with the tobacco, for example. I mean, I had done it for so long, it didn't bring me the mutation. Running did, so I was then done with it because I didn't need it. Something like that. And I guess, like I have all kinds of, these are quite immature thoughts now because they're just coming to me as I'm speaking. But I'm thinking of how the 24 is looking up to the 61, which is also about the mystic, like the mystery, And so how I remember when I used to drink, for example, and I always found that there was something mystical, like who am I when I'm drunk? Is I'm looking for something outside of this material experience or something. And when it didn't come, I didn't get my mutation through addiction to that alcohol, you know, and I learned that through experience. So then I was able to let go of it, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this is just something that is kind of my thought process at the moment. But it's really interesting because, you know, I'm with Alistair now, and I mean, he's done everything. He's done so many substances. Like, it's just crazy. I mean, I'm like, I would really want to know more about, you know, like his experiences, because he's experimented with everything, and he knows a lot about the addiction, and he's a cross of explanation. We actually looked at this line, and he was able to explain it in a really quite a nice way. I don't remember it exactly now, but the detriment there was something about using the substance. How did you fucking read? I can't remember how it read. Like something to do with you legitimize it by success. So it's a bit like, oh well, you know, I can do this. I can get drunk because, you know, like I've just made a lot of money and it's Friday. You know, it's kind of like excusing your substance abuse based on the fact that you've done a good job. You know, I've earned it. Something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. So even if you want to quit, you still think, well, it's my way of rewarding myself because I've succeeded in something.
Is it a way of rewarding yourself because you've succeeded in something that you didn't really want to do? Because I was thinking, if you succeed in something that is really right for you and correct for you, then you don't really need a reward.
Yeah, exactly, because the reward is in the satisfaction.
Right.
Doing it. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Or it's maybe something that you don't care about that much. Not necessarily what you didn't want to do, but something that it wasn't that important, that didn't give you the satisfaction. Yeah, totally.
Hence why most people get drunk on a Friday night.
Exactly.
Or take a 1-week holiday in the year and go to Marbella and get drunk for 7 days and get debauched. And then that's it. They think that's life.
Wow.
Yeah, but then there's all kinds of addictions. Like you could look at every addiction. Like you could look at like sex addiction. That's a big one for a lot of people. So how would you relate that to? Well, I guess in the same way. I mean,
yeah.
It's an escape.
Mm.
It's an escape from the reality, and not. I know. I've been there. Not facing or trying to be something that you're not, which can go back to old woundings and things like that. But it's in my case, it's about being seen in a way that I'm really not. So I'm pulling it all back to the being seen thing for my personal experience. But I think this conversation comes back to how many people are doing things that they don't want to do.
Majority, probably.
Yeah, and then everybody wonders why people do fucked up things. And who was it? Was it Lily that said earlier about go back to the source?
Yeah.
Did you begin correctly? And now, not so much for then, but now, are you going to begin correctly from now on? Because you can't really fix, well, you can't fix the problems of the past, but I can start now to operate out of my response and only do that which is correct for me out of response.
I'm wondering about all the things that you've said, seeing if there is a link to the career stuff. Do you find doing massage satisfying? Do you find teaching yoga satisfying? Doing human design satisfying? Being a personal trainer satisfying? Is there satisfaction there?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Were there ever times where some kind of addictive behaviors stopped those things from becoming more than they did?
When I was doing massage, I mean, it was crazy. I had a full-time job, and then I was doing massage on the side and training for a marathon. And I used to treat the running as a, well, actually, it was kind of addiction to running, you know, like I changed from drinking and smoking to exercise at that time. And I remember doing massage, and most of my clients were runners, and they were all coming to me because they had this injury or that injury, or they wanted to just like enhance their performance. And at the same time, you know, I was overworked and obviously like constantly on the go and burning out and not being able to do my running because I was having to fix these other people and there was nobody to fix me, and I couldn't even like put my effort into that. So yeah, it was kind of like doing that was preventing me from, I don't know if it was an addiction really. I think it was just my way of fucking coping with stuff. But yeah, okay, it was an addiction at some point, but again, it's not linking. It's just a looping thought in my head, as you can probably see. Like I'm not really getting anywhere with it, but I remember the feeling that I had and the annoyance and the kind of bitterness almost, that I was doing all this for other people so that they could behave better in an area that I wanted to do better in, that I wanted to invest for myself.
What's your
And
motivation?
it's guilt. And this is actually a theme that has followed me quite a long time in different areas of life. I feel like, you know, I'm having to I don't have to do anything, but I end up giving stuff to people and helping people with stuff that I would like to give to myself, which comes back to, you know, the wounded healer, Chiron, you know, like you can't heal something within yourself, but you can help others. So there's pain, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So.
When you, Hanalei, when you responded to Tiara's questions about the 3, 4, 5 different things that you do,
yeah,
there seemed to be a hesitation in your response and not a very strong response. I'm wondering, is there any one thing that you do that you get real satisfaction from?
Teaching yoga and teaching human design. These are these are really like, I feel like I would be quite happy just to do these things, you know, and make loads of money with it, but you know, it's not happening. Would I what?
Would you be happy to just do those 2 things?
Yeah.
Can you do those 2 things?
I don't know. I mean, I can, but is it gonna happen? I can't do it alone, you know. I can't just like do it. I'm not a manifester, you know. I need to have some kind of a. It's about interaction. It's all about interaction. And if there's no, like, I have availability for it, but if nobody wants my availability, then there's little I can do about it. Something like that. It's a bit like, you know, like being like, hard to explain. I'm trying to always think of a metaphor that would explain it. But let's say that you cook a nice meal. You cook a wonderful meal. You spend a lot of time and effort, and it's all ready and nice and warm. And then the person that was going to come for a dinner doesn't come for a dinner. It's like, meh, what's the point?
So there's disappointment.
Yeah, and there's like, okay, it's all wasted. Like most of the stuff I've done in my life is wasted. You know, I've sowed seeds everywhere. I've tried to invest money on this or that, or, you know, build something that would grow, and it never does. So it's kind of like, well, what's the point? So then, you know, like over time, I think this was part of my process in Romania, because I really saw that, and one of the things that I had invested in a lot in was my relationship with Luca, and what we were going to build there in Romania, and it was like, you know, like you put a cake in the oven and you forgot to put the braising
Yeah.
agent, so it's just flat. So then this is where I had to kind of come face to face with all of these things that I've ever invested in, and realize that I just got to let go. You know, I can spend years and years of studying stuff, or, you know, like doing whatever, and there's never a guarantee that it's going to work. Never. And so I came to a point there where I'm like, I don't want to do anything. And I went into a deep spiral of depression, and like way beyond I had ever felt before, you know, like I'm healing still, let's put it that way. I'm better, but I still have this inner kind of sparkle in me that life is worth living. It's not really there. So
I can relate. I understand.
Yeah.
And when you said, what's the point?
Yeah.
I fit that space quite a few times.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I guess that's where the waiting game comes in.
Yeah. And, you know, there's no guarantees. You know, this is how I operate now. Like, it's completely transformed the way I see myself and my life, is that I wake up every day. I might have ideas or plans or dreams, but most of the time I'm just like, well, we'll just see what happens. So I kind of live in this state of no expectation. And it's funny because as an emotional being, it puts me in a state of spontaneity, which kind of works. Because I'm always open to anything. And then if something spontaneously comes, I might have energy for it or not. Okay. But even if I'm emotional, I might still get sparked by something. And I might just do something out of a whim. And it doesn't feel incorrect, because I'm always ready to move or not move. I'm not fixated on my dreams or my goals or my whatever it is, or what I think I should be or what I think I should do.
Your energy just shifted when you were talking about this. You started smiling, and your whole energy lit up. Just want to point that out. From here, I saw that shift and that change.
I saw it too.
Nice.
It's still there.
I wonder about the spontaneity thing, because what you might, and for myself as well, but what you might be spontaneous, you already have a foundation that you've already processed through, and with already a clarity, and that spontaneity is a response, but it may look spontaneous, but it's not.
Yeah, I did a video about this because it's so clear to, like, a lot of people ask about this on, like, it's in the emotional group, for example. It's like, well, sometimes you can be spontaneous as an emotional being, but usually you have a process underneath it, you know? Like you say, it's like you've already felt about something that, okay, it might or might not happen, but if it happens, I'm ready for it, or not.
Right.
But you have already felt about it. So then if it comes to you, like, one example is I want to use John as an example, John Martin, because he's just passed away not long ago. And like the way I was dealing with him is he's very spontaneous, because he was a splenic projector. And he would always be available. Like, if I ask him, okay, let's talk now. And if I wasn't ready for that, I would pull back. And so we always had this kind of weird dynamic, until I figured out that I just have to know that I want to speak to him, and then I'm going to be ready for him whenever he is ready. So then I can be spontaneous. But I had to know for myself that I definitely wanted to speak with him. And so I learned in that, you know, okay, I have had my clarity about something potentially happening, and when it happens, it can be spontaneous. So
really isn't
So
spontaneous.
what I'm hearing with this,
yeah,
as an open emotional person, what I'm hearing with this for emotional people is, if you already have a history and there's something set up, that's very, very different to if I'm asking you to do something that you've never done before and that you don't have any history with. And to be spontaneous on that could be potentially dangerous.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
It
definitely.
kind of reminds me of with projectors, if you already have a relationship with someone, something already established, and they don't need to invite you to every single little detail that's going on because you've already established all that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
know if that's a,
That's a
anyway.
little different. Yeah. We've had many discussions on that, but the spontaneous thing, I think maybe should have a different word in that sense, because the mind then says, oh, then you're spontaneous, but you're not. And I've gone through this to the outside world is like, well, where'd that come from? But they don't see the depth of the process. Yeah.
The way I've looked at that is for emotional people, there are many times when you still have to live in the now. Like if I say to you, do you want to go for a cup of coffee now? You're not going to sleep on it. But I remember, I think it was Ra said, or somebody said that, does it feel good in that moment? Does it feel comfortable? Does it
can't
give
know
you
in
a
that
good feeling? Because
You can't know.
that's a now.
No, for me, no, I don't even do that. I have to
No?
wait 30 seconds, if nothing else,
Mm.
you know, or 60 seconds. And that way there is that clarity that could come in. Might look spontaneous, but it really isn't. You know,
Yeah, that's like, to me, I take a breath or two.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And then it could change, or it could stay the same of what your initial, like, yeah, I want to go for
Right.
coffee.
Mm.
But it
But
really
it's about
do have
knowing
to give yourself
yourself,
that space.
knowing
'Cause
yourself and your individualism. And
yeah,
in a way, human design can't become group mentality. In a general sense, it can, but because I know for myself, I don't often make decisions in the now. It sometimes takes me 3 or 4 days to come up with an answer for something. And that's just the way I am. And there are certain things I've talked with Tierra about that explain within the chart, but it's just the way I am. And over time, I've realized that.
and it could be the fourth line too, just making that bridge over to whatever it is that you may need time to do. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
the
why I
fourth,
like no responses. As a general, no responses are wonderful. They used to freak me out, but now they're wonderful. They just show me I'm not ready. Not ready for a decision.
if I'm not clear, it's a no for now. That's just it. You're not clear.
It's a great thing to be able to sit with and not need to explain to anybody, even if they don't understand human design. Just don't have an answer right now.
And for an emotional being, there is no truth in the now. Done, period. Even if it takes 2 breaths to get to that clarity, or at least that big percentage.
I like that. 2 breaths is a different now.
It's a different now.
It's
Traveling
not
through
spontaneous. 2 breaths takes you out of spontaneity.
and for me, I have the 5720. My now, I know my now in that 5720. And the now is this person I'm supposed to be with? Am I supposed to turn left? Am I supposed to, it has to do with survival and physical safety and well-being. That's different, so different than the no truth in the now and the emotional.
I also think
I have
that,
another.
go ahead, Hanalei.
You sure?
Sure.
I also was just relating to the emotionals having, if you have a process underneath it, like it's also like I realize that the more I am surrendered to the moment, like not planning, not expecting, just being here now, the more I become aware of my surroundings and what might happen, like almost intuitively, like getting a sense of what people talk about, or how they behave around me or something like that. So I might get a sense of seeing what direction things are going for and start feeling about that. And when they actually get to that point, I have already like have this intuitive process that I have felt about, so that when it happens, it can be spontaneous, but I had like almost kind of like mystical knowing about it, and so then I'm ready when it happens.
Or not.
Or not, yeah, of course. But you know, like the more I can be present, the more I am aware of what's going around me, and the more I can feel about my truth about how things are evolving. And I don't necessarily need as much time to feel about something as it happens, or not as shocked, or you know.
Yeah. On the splenic and the sacral authorities, I've always had been a little jealous in that sense, where or let's go, whatever, but not really, because there's a huge amount of trust in that aspect. They just have to trust and not question it or think about it, or so on. And then you get what's correct for you, just by and just going without having to wait through that, a little bit of the clarity part.
What I've seen with that is every I've had that's been strong is immediately followed by the mind reason not to. And every that is really strong is immediately followed by the mind's reason why I should. And it's funny. I mean, it really is hilarious.
It's like the mind never wants to agree with the body.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it sometimes really freaks me out when the mind does agree with me. And I go, and I get, oh yeah, that's a good idea. What the fuck are you playing at? You know,
suspicious.
The suspicious back and forth. But
I do think that there's a difference for me between a decision that's actually important and do you want to go out for a cup of tea? Like just the other day, Lawrence and I were walking around and he said, I'm going to have a cup of tea. You want one? I went, That was actually all I needed. I didn't need to like stop and do something to be okay, because it wasn't that important. It was okay for me to just have a cup of tea.
Yeah, but Tara, your body has your emotions are defined in your personality. Like if you look at your red only, your sacral.
That's true.
That's kind of how I differentiate these nuances. Like I'm emotional in my body, so my body needs time.
Oh yeah, I'm not emotional in my body. My body is actually a sacral generator. Yeah. I mean, and it likes to just focus. That's true.
That's a wonderful nuance and difference just to talk about, because it helps me to know the difference too between the mind and the body, emotional or
I was thinking about that just the other day. I don't remember what I was doing. I was having another conversation with my body and talking to it because I'm emotional and it's not. I was having a conversation. Like, yeah, you're not emotional like me.
I love that. That's great.
Tira, I just realized that your personality, you only have the 59.6.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's why I resonate with you so much, I think.
Yeah, that's my
funny.
personality.
I've never seen it before.
Yeah, my body is only the 52.9. Yeah.
Yeah.
My personality is like
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
Yeah, I just totally relate. Like that's all I really relate to. And then they come together they do the 49.26. So they just kind of interact when I walk around, go places and do things and all of that.
That's probably why I like your 59.6 so much in that sense. For me, because I'm so unconscious in my emotional, but my
hold on, Lily. I really want to hear what you're saying, and this is just really loud. Okay.
What was it?
It was a siren.
I didn't hear it.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah. But anyway, I just again, like Annalise said, this is an immature thought right now because I'm just thinking of it. But yeah, I like that. I have so many 59 sixes in my life. I mean, a lot. I would think a lot. I don't, although I don't have anything to compare to.
V has a lot of them too. You guys could compare.
Yeah,
Still
I think it helps me with my personality to draw that out, to know what I'm feeling, what, where I'm at in my waves and my emotions, because I don't know most of the time. So, and so you bust down that,
right.
whatever it is. Yeah. So I'm wondering with you, Hanalei, what that would feel like, because yours is in your body, right? You're 59/6. That's your only channel, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, Hanalei has this juicy body aura. And I watch people see it. It's fascinating. I don't think
It's fucking
think
crazy.
girls-
Like it's got worse and worse over the last like months. Like I can see the impact that I have on people when I walk out on the streets, and like I just like keep away from me. How can I keep you away? And I can't.
No.
I've
Because
just learned to accept
my
it now.
body,
I know that if I go out now, I know that there's gonna be people who are coming to talk to me, and it's like, okay, am I open for it or not? Like if I'm not, then I'm gonna
deal with it.
try to find a place where there are not too many people,
Yeah.
But I was actually thinking of in terms of career and stuff, because I'm like, I don't really like to like sell myself or market myself. Like, why don't I use these people who I attract when I'm outside and just start telling them, look, I teach human design, or I teach yoga, and give them like business cards and shit, because they're the ones that are approaching me.
That's right. And then all you
So
have
maybe.
to do is respond.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great idea. You want to do that?
I don't know. I'm feeling about it.
Do you have any business cards?
No.
Because
I don't really have a product. That's what it is. I don't really have a thing that I'm selling, because I'm a bit all over the place.
Want to talk to me about that sometime?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be cool.
That's my 44. My 44 likes figuring out marketing stuff for people.
Okay, that's I'm up for that.
That's my son did. Yeah, likes it.
I think that's a good idea. And when Lawrence is talking about his clothes and the length of his shirt and his black, and and I've been thinking about, without attachment, right, or expectations, to peacock yourself, to just show yourself, but without expectations, like, oh, see me, or they didn't invite me, whatever, because it's like showing yourself, like, oh, I've studied all this. I've got experience in that. But it's the attachment that I screw up, where, well, they didn't want it, or they didn't see it. But the truth of myself, I was a world. That's a truth of myself, So
I'm aware of that. I'm very aware that people still might not see me. Doesn't matter. What's really fun is when I put these different outfits on and I see.
Yeah.
And I go, wow, I see myself.
Yeah.
I've never seen but Tierra explained it to me that I was seeing the outfits I was wearing and liking them, but I wasn't seeing me. And now I can see the difference. And it's that old, I can see clearly now. The pain is gone.
And the other thing, just I was thinking about, Lawrence, is the next thing that we can look at in this whole arena of presentation is it's kind of like the vibrational thing, because I was looking at something I was putting on and going, yeah, I'm in this kind of mood of kind of punk. Like there's a part of me that likes being kind of edgy punk, right? So I can get away with that, even though it might not be the perfect classical look for me in terms of the colors or the this or the that. But because there's that punk, edgy, fuck you quality to me, I can get away with a certain look that I can go out in that still shows who I am. And what I've seen with you is you often portray yourself as swirly, and you're not swirly. And so that's one of the other things. That's why just the solid and the softer and all of that, because you are kind of a warm, softer person. You're not being punk, you know. So when you go out and there's like, I'm a rock star, it gets attention and you can do it, you can pull it off, but it doesn't show you. It shows the facade. Yeah.
I said one day at the film festival in Sedona, the guy who ran the festival got dressed as a cowboy, and so did I. I was assisting him.
Yeah.
And we were standing in front of the audience talking on the mic, and he looked like fucking Roy Rogers. And I was dressed all in black with a patterned waistcoat and a black hat. And I looked fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And looking back on it now, I was doing the persona of a cowboy, but I was doing it in the correct colors, so it made it work.
Yeah.
But I'll show it. I've got a picture of it somewhere. I'll show it to you. And I get to see there are just certain caricatures that don't work for me.
Right.
And there are certain, like we said, if you look at the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, the Marines, whatever, I fit in with the Navy. And it's not because I have an association with the Navy, it's just I fit in with it. And that realization that we had through our conversation was very empowering.
Nice.
And I encourage anybody else to do the same. Maybe from a different point of view, because my wounding is about literally being seen.
Where's your Chiron, Lawrence?
It's in the first house, but it's in 54 and 58. So it's about being seen, but I forget the word. 54, what's the word?
Ambition.
Ambition. And really, I've had no ambition. I've had ambition, but it's never really gone anywhere. So that's why I can relate to what you were saying, Hannah. You know, I've done all this, like all these paintings I've done that have never gone anywhere, and don't have the thing behind it to really propel it forward. So, but it's all right now, because I'll just continue presenting myself in a way that can be seen, and then see what comes my way and who comes my way. And I'm already seeing my attractions to people and things and situations are changing already. I'm just witnessing them, seeing what happens. It's a fun little game that I'm playing.
Good.
Watching things fall away.
I feel in our own ways today, anyway, right now, anyway, that we're all really somehow mutating, seriously. Yeah. And there is something different about all of us today that, I don't know, that has been coming for a while. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's just fascinating and very interesting.
I like this. And I think Chiron is a really good part of that. Thanks for that, Lily. You know, recognize here's my woundedness. It doesn't have to stop me. It doesn't have to hold me back. Actually, it can be a gift.
Yeah. And seeing everything, you know, it's just seeing when you're in a loop, or seeing where you're coming, or, you know, it doesn't stop it so much, but it does change it, like we're always saying.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Like seeing your motivation when you go into transference, just seeing it is what gives it the opportunity to mutate. It's that quantum mechanics theory, or
Yeah, there's nothing
Mhm.
to do.
see it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that attachment and caring so much about a result or what other people think is, I think, is where the mutation is happening for me anyway, but I could see it other people is
And I think
student.
that one of the keys with that, if I relate it to my 2-4, that any future call out that I have, to then look at myself and go, am I trying to hide right now?
Yeah.
Is this a correct call that I'm trying to hide from?
Mm.
And maybe
That's-
watch myself try to put on a piece of clothing that would normally hide me. So I'm forewarned is forearmed kind of thing.
Yeah. Wow.
And
Yeah,
I would
and the
like to just point out for the viewing audience, that is a wonderfully strategic thought. And I'm saying that because for a few reasons, because to just point out that all of your thoughts are strategic, and also all the rest of us who are not can be given that kind of strategy, because we don't come up with that stuff.
But before, I could never give it to you because I was denying that I ever even had it.
Well, you
And again,
did give it, but yeah, you didn't own it.
Yeah. This owning, I feel like I'm owning myself.
Yeah.
And therefore nobody else.
Laura, I just had a, sorry, I have to say this. I just had a flashback of us having a dinner in a pub in Leeds. You came to see me. Do you remember? We went down to a pub down the road from me. We went down to, there was a pub down the road from where I used to live, like down a massive hill, and it was a really old pub, and we ate a meal there. And I remember you talking to me about sex or something. And I remembered your frequency, like, because I was just looking at you now and thinking of how you are now. Like, you're so different from when I met you. I mean, this is a few years ago.
I know.
But you were talking to me about sexual fantasies and all of that, and I felt neediness from you back then.
I was trying to strategize a way of having sex with you.
Oh,
that's what I was doing. And
Cool.
because I did it with everybody.
Mm.
And
Yeah, I could kind of sense that. Yeah.
I did it with everybody I was attracted to. If I wasn't attracted, then I didn't do it, because what's the point? But it was almost it became an unconscious strategy, because it was connected to an old wound, and I've been living it out for fucking years. And that's been one of the major changes for me.
Yeah, and like now you're talking about this being seen or like hiding. Like I felt like you were trying to be seen. Like almost desperately, and like just feel like you're a different person now completely, to that memory or that image or that flashback that I just had.
And what my mind can do with that as well now is say, well, I can't be seen now because look at what I tried to do with Hanalei back then. And if I get seen now, the Me Too movement's going to come out and condemn me for being the sex whatever that I was back then. That's one of the things that goes on in my mind, and I have to deal with it and say, no, just no. And even if that did happen, so fucking what? Then
that's right.
It would just be what it be.
Yeah.
But because I played that game for so long,
there's no mutation there when you hide from that. You know, there's
right. Yeah. And by the way, playing that game killed my network. Killed the potential of my network. I mean, in a sense, luckily now you're still in my network. But if I hadn't changed, which I didn't for many years, I destroyed potential relationships with so many women. and I see clearly that I did that. It's what happened. I'm okay with it, but now it's time to build a new network.
Mm.
And I couldn't do it without being
The hug.
properly seen. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
It'd be cool to meet you now to feel your aura, like, and see how it feels different,
Yeah.
like in real life.
Thank you. Because you know, when you're slowly changing, it's like when you don't see someone's kids for 5 years. And you go, oh, okay, now they've grown and look at you. And the parents are going, what are you talking about? Because they've seen them just slowly grow over time, and you don't always see it in yourself.
Can I ask you something, Lawrence? Just on a microscopic moment, truth. When she said it'd be nice to feel your aura, did your second line kind of step back a bit and go, oh, there's a projection? Can I live up to that, or will it be different?
I don't know.
I'm
not aware of it. Did it look like I did?
It could have been lived just inside of me. That's why
I don't know. I mean, did it look like I did?
Just a moment of like, ooh, a little like, oh, well, will I really hold this space?
Yeah, yeah, okay. I can acknowledge
it's just
that.
a momentary thing I saw.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I'd love to see you. I'd love to. When she said, "I'd love to see you again and see how you're different now," and yeah, there was a part who went, "Oh, fuck."
I know that second line so well. That's why I wanted to say it and just bring it up now. So, yeah.
And just going back to that, Hannah-Lee, I don't remember that instance. What I remember the most is taking your dogs for walks in the field opposite to your house. That was the good memory for me. But I love.
And I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all. It's funny how like we have like different, like it's just gone from my mind. I don't remember. I can see that it probably happened because I had a dog, but
I used to try and turn every single conversation back to sex. I was strategically planning how to try and get sex. It was
sounds tiring.
Yeah, looking back on it. I mean, I've seen myself be in a bar and go, okay, I'm not supposed to push. I've learned this from human design. I'm not supposed to push. I'm not going to push. She's cute. I'm not going to push. But what if I just position myself at that point in the bar? So I'm still doing it. I'm still
strategizing
instead of just going. But the best one, I'll just tell you quickly, the best one that ever happened to me, I was on Ibiza. I got off a bus. There was a woman walking this way. I was walking this way. She was really attractive. I was in front of her, and I was saying to myself, I'm not going to turn and talk to her because I don't do that in human design. I'm not supposed to do that. I don't do that. And as I was thinking, my body turned round and walked up to her. And as I'm walking up to her, I'm going, what the fuck are you doing? Stop. No. What are you doing? You don't do this. And I was there with her. And so I had to say something. We became lovers for about 2 months on Ibiza and had this most wonderful connection. And it was the exact opposite of what I normally did. And I always hold that one because it's such a wonderful example of the body and the mind disagreeing.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I lost touch with her.
It's all right.
She had the 12 to my 22, and she was what they call them, a mental projector. But that 12-22 was amazing. I've always enjoyed that connection to the emotions. But thank you, Hannah-Lee. Thank you for the acknowledgement. Because I've often sat in class here and wondered, I wonder what Hannah-Lee thinks about me. Because of that history.
I also remember that you taught me how to draw something, and I still had the drawings, I think, when I left England, but I don't think I have them anymore. But you were showing me some technical ways of how to draw stuff. So I have that memory too. That was really nice.
Was that the one about everything in life is either a straight line or a wavy line?
Potentially. I don't remember the details, but
Yeah.
it sounds like it
It's
could
a
have
great,
been.
it's a great thing to teach someone who wants to be an
Mm.
artist and are overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
I like that because I'm not much of a teacher otherwise, but I do like that process.
I need to take you guys for a walk. That was happening.
Oh, oh no, it's not a cat, is it?
No, it's a Yorkie.
You haven't
It's a
seen
Yorkie.
him.
Just like you.
I can't pick him up. I mean, I guess I
Oh.
could, but I don't think he might really like it too much.
Are you in the new place now, Tierra?
Yeah.
The one upstairs.
Yeah. Do you want to see if you
It's
show
kind of funny. We're having this conversation, but Tierra is literally like 5 minutes walk down the street from me.
Right now?
Yeah. Well, I've been in this apartment building, this flat, for 2 weeks, and now I'm in one just a floor up in a different one. So I was with the beautiful cat who sings happy birthday, and now I'm with the 2 dogs.
That's a beautiful cat.
He was a talker.
Yeah, his person came back today.
I have to.
I miss
I have
England.
to just Hanale, I just have to jump back to this for a minute because I'm realizing how empowering this is for me. So
Good.
thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I find
kind
the
of things-
quality. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Lily.
I found that the qualities that, like we're so afraid of, that they're undeveloped, or that there's such beauty and expansion in the original reason why we do something or want something, like to be looked at or to have something.
Mm-hmm.
There is it's like a seed that really has all this knowledge and information without guilt or shame or whatever. This is a beautiful for all of that, I believe, and because we're all willing to want to be aware, grow, or I don't know about grow, but just uncover who we are,
Mutate.
I think it's the same thing as growing, really. I see it like that.
Yeah.
In fact, I think
Because you
there's
grow your awareness.
Yeah. You grow the awareness.
Within the new age, there's growing can be a very dangerous word.
I get real a little bit.
Oh, I've really grown in the last few months. That I've been really aware of myself in the new age. I feel like I've really, and everybody around me is really grown. And it actually doesn't mean anything.
It's I always look at it as uncovering, and what's already been there. But there has to be growth and awareness on that. Oh.
Yeah.
So, but we're cool. We all know what that means, right?
But I like coming up with new words. Like you mentioned this, we talked about being spontaneous. Like maybe there could be another word for that could replace that could explain the emotional variation of that, because this is where we get like lost in translation.
Yeah.
Because I think, like I really like the idea of trying to find new words, for more specific words for things that we are uncovering here.
But doesn't being in the now cover it?
No.
No,
Okay.
because there's awareness, like there has to be some kind of underlying awareness of something.
Yes.
So just being in the now, I
Yeah.
mean, okay, I can be in the now, but I can be in the now and not be aware of stuff, or not be aware
Right,
of how
right,
I
right.
feel or what I'm
So-
processing.
So if you come up with a word and I do, let's like put it out there, okay?
Okay. I'm really shit with words, like coming up with words. I'm not very good at like thinking of words like
Maybe
that,
it's
but I can try.
maybe it's 2 words. You keep
Wait,
the
it
word
might-
spontaneity, but there's another word that comes before it that explains that that you've got this established thing before.
Hundred
the spon-
now.
What'd you
Aware
say?
spontaneity.
What'd you say, Tiara?
Pre-pondered.
Pre-pondered.
Pre-pondered point.
Yeah.
It's
maybe.
kind of in the right direction,
Pre-packaged.
but prepared
I really do
spontaneity.
think that there's a difference though, because even if
Yes.
I had considered going to Spain, if someone offered me going to Spain right now, I don't think I could connect it to my authority, make a moment decision to do that. It's too big.
Yeah.
It's just too big to do anything quick, even if I have pondered it. But having a cup of tea or having a phone call or things like that, that's not life-changing. That's not going to put you in a whole different trajectory.
Mm.
You just don't
I
know.
think there's a difference.
You don't know. At least on the unconscious aspect of it, on the design side, that 2 breaths or however many is appropriate is important for me anyway, especially
I
for my
don't think
4th line.
progress is enough for me for a big decision, is what I'm saying.
No, it wouldn't be for me either. But for the moment, like a cup of tea as the example, it still needs to be 2 breaths or as the example. This is not science here, but exactness, but
So
it's
would it
I just know it.
Yeah, I was saying the opposite, Lily, that I don't think
Yeah.
even if I've pondered something and realized I really like it, there's still a different clarity that needs to come when the actual thing is there.
For the bigger.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
for me, it's moment by moment for me. It's not even for the bigger.
So you could make a life-changing decision in 2 breaths?
No, I'm talking about what you might call the small decisions, like the cup
Yeah,
of
I
tea
wasn't talking
decision.
about that. I was
Well, I
talking about
was.
the bigger ones.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying. I hear you on that for sure. Yeah, so I'm good with coming up with other words. My one example that comes up is like I was always called stubborn and negatively growing up. So I thought, well, what is stubborn? So I started investigating, and what I came up with is justifiably unyielding.
Ah, nice.
So that changed
justifiably
everything for me.
You're
So-
so justifiably unyielding.
Yeah. Or yielding. So
Yielding, yeah.
but
What
yeah,
about aware spontaneity?
aware
Yeah.
spontaneity.
I
We're
think
getting there. We're going.
spontaneity is a very good word.
You think? Say again.
I don't think spontaneity is a good word at all for an emotional person.
It's not, because I just looked at synonyms for that, and it's like unconstrained, unprompted, unbidden, unsolicited. They all relate
Right.
to the fact that there is nothing. It is really like that in the moment. So it doesn't really fit because we do have a process underneath. So
Maybe it only fits
kind of
for
exactly the
non-emotional
opposite of
people.
that.
Yeah,
about
I
fake
don't even know if
spontaneity?
sacral people are spontaneous, because a sacral response is not that quick that much. It still has to go through the body and come out with a sound.
How about
Spontaneous is sort of almost only splenic.
Yes. Faux spontaneity. Fake
What?
spontaneity.
Faux
Oh,
spontaneity.
yeah, well,
Oh, you mean folks?
Yeah. No. Yeah, folks. Something is like, it isn't what it seems.
Maybe only manifesting generators have true spontaneity. Non-emotional manifesting generators like me.
I don't
Because
know.
there are times when
I think it's
there
more
are times
spontaneous than sacral spontaneity. Because spontaneity is before even responding. Like it's splenic. It's like get the fuck out. There's no
Right.
like,
Well,
the tree is about to
I'm
fall on your head. You want to move? You're dead. Spontaneity is
yeah.
then a sacral response.
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, that's a
The
splenic.
channel. But it's not my authority, so yeah.
Right.
I just seen a word premeditated.
E-
That means
Premeditated.
that's when you kill somebody.
Well, that's especially good for you and I, Hanalei, because we have that, meditation, which I hate that word for the fourth
Yeah.
color, and Lily has it in her design.
Pre
When I used to meditate, it was very good for my
Incapacitated.
41st
Sounds like
date.
digestion.
I had the best fantasies. I had
When what?
I had the best meditations in the group when I explained them in the group afterwards, because they were all fantasies. So if we meditated around a pyramid at my friend's house, I saw every Egyptian god, goddess that had ever existed.
How do you know that's not reality?
It was in my 41st gate.
Okay, so there's the chimera, there's the I don't know. It's not
I
what
have a
it's
feeling that there's going to be a keynote somewhere in the definitive book of human design.
Mm.
In one of the emotional gates and lines that is going to give us the answer. So I'm going to look.
okay. There you go. It's a good source.
I think there are millions of conversations to be had, and Tierra and I have had some of them, about the differences between emotional and non-emotional beings. And here I am all on my lonesome against 3 emotional beings.
Yeah, you're holding up well.
That's because I've learned to relax my sphincter.
And you're not in aura either.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Tierra and I have had some really, I don't even know what word to describe them, the conversations on this subject. Confusing is one word, for me at least.
Well, I got some clarity yesterday, because often when we talk about emotions, Lawrence, you'll say, I don't understand. And the teacher in me then just digs in, and I get very 52-9 and try and find some way
Yeah,
for something that he can understand. Yesterday, after doing this for years, he goes, well, I don't want to understand. I'm like, well, then fucking why don't you say that and give me a break to try and help you understand something you don't even want to understand?
No, in Spanish, con is without, right?
Con is with.
With. So confusing. So con and fusing, the two words together.
Refusing.
So sin fusing would be without fusing.
that's confusing in and of itself.
Yeah.
I do words like this all the time.
But con in English is against.
It's true. Against fusing. So you didn't want
I
to
think
understand.
what I realized in that conversation is what I was really saying is emotions are very confusing to me. I don't want to understand them. and it comes out, I don't understand. But I wasn't, I understand where Tiara's coming from and the frustration on her side, but I wasn't saying it to try and understand. I was just making the statement, I don't understand. I could have followed it by, please don't try and explain to me. But I didn't even realize you were trying to explain to me. You know, that's what came out yesterday.
Well, yeah, because we keep having the same conversation and you keep not understanding. And then the one time when I gave you the pebble thing, you seem to understand what emotions were as opposed to feelings. And you seem to be so happy about it.
Oh, I was. That gave me a real grounded explanation. But I definitely relate to, I can get very confused around emotions. They can destabilize me.
That's
if I get caught
entirely.
Yeah.
Well, you know, give me the opportunity to sort of work my way through this.
Okay.
Sometimes I feel like Thierry, you jump down my neck when I'm trying to understand things. You get quite aggressive.
Was that aggressive?
It felt like it.
Maybe amplified aggression or something.
It feel aggressive.
The way it came across to me was, and I'm going to imitate it just to let you know the impact on me, was, that's two different things. What the fuck are you talking about? That's the way it impacts me. And I admit can be very oversensitive. And we've talked about that as well. And this may just be
I wasn't thinking, why did you say that? I was thinking, I wish you had said that. Because it's two different.
Yeah.
And I don't understand what you're trying to get at when you're confused, but destabilizing, I understand. So I was saying that's two different things. I understand that one.
Oh,
right.
I get you.
Thank you.
Annalie, did you find any other words? Okay.
Unexpected was the best I found so far, but it's not really. Yeah, it's not. Well, look, you know.
Me too.
But I want to say something else, because at some point we talked about numbers, because I think Valia was talking about the 8 and the 8 and the 8, and I just want to mention this because I'm moving house soon and I'm super excited, and I'm looking at numbers. And like the house that I moved. Sorry, I'm just completely like changing the subject. So you can stop me. Okay. So I'm looking at, like, I've been living in a house number 20 at the moment, on the 5th floor, and flat number 32. And I can see how these, like, I always relate it to the gates and the lines. You know, I'm a 5th line, I'm a 5th floor, and I can relate that my life here has been very much about being in the now. And 32 about, like, well, no, sorry, 32 is my Pluto. So I've been really living out that kind of a theme. And now I'm moving into house number 5, floor 3, 3rd line, and flat number 49. And so it's funny because Alistair has got both 5 and the 49. And I'm just saying, like, how is my life going to turn into all these, you know, like gates and lines of, you know, all of that. And I don't know, I'm just having really fun with it, because I'm seeing the patterns, you know, to some degree, like how these numbers have a bigger, like,
synchronicity, I believe, you know.
Yeah. And so I'm just relating it to the words as well, because, you know, like, words have magic, you know, the words carry frequency, you know, how we choose the words is going to have a different meaning. It's going to put out a different vibe or frequency. Well, numbers do the same kind of stuff, and in another level that we're not necessarily so aware of. And so, you know, this is the kind of stuff I'm into.
Yeah.
Kind of
And,
mental.
you know, Rod talks about the keynotes. They carry a frequency. The actual words themselves, you know, you can expand upon.
Yeah.
So
I like that, and numerology.
Yeah.
because I live in the number of my building is 24. So I always think about the 2-4.
Oh, yeah.
Mm,
I'm a
yeah.
2-4 in a 24. But I live in a room which is G32. And G relates to a number as well. Whereas it's 7, I think. A, B,
7.
C, D, E, F, G. So if you add them up, the 7, the 3, and the 2 become 12, become 3. So it becomes creativity. But I hadn't thought about doing it from the human design. Oh, I'm in room 32. What's gate 32? And what's
Yeah.
gate 7?
32 is fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in a room that represents fear of failure.
To me too. My flat is a fear of failure.
You
But
know,
also the 32 is the electromagnetic to that 54 of ambition. It's a fear of failure that will do what it takes to not fail.
Oh, I have the 32.
Well,
I forgot.
my house numbers, and I just discovered this year, is my nodes. 17 and 18.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's my door code.
So now we
And
know
it's
how to
funny
get
because
in.
these nodes are my cousin's nodes who I actually landed with when I came back to Finland. So I got to her place, I spent a week with her, and then I moved into this flat and it has her nodes. It's like I'm just seeing these patterns everywhere. Like, okay, I could go crazy with this, you know.
I do,
Mhm.
you know,
It's funny.
when I go to the spa to steam and stuff, and I always pick a locker that would correlate how I feel to the gate.
Yeah, me too. I do stuff like that all the time.
This is wonderful, Hannah-Leigh, because I've never thought about the numbers in relation to the gates of human design.
Mm-hmm.
This is another moment for me, like Tiara said about the pebble analogy, to understand the emotions and the open emotions. It's the same kind of, ding! Never thought about that. I like this.
I do too.
It's a spontaneous moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny because I went to see a few flats and I was always looking at the numbers. The other one that I was going to go for, I actually wanted it, was house number 6 and flat 44. I was thinking of Tierra and myself because I have the 6 on the Saturn. I'm like, okay, it might be a bit annoying because it's in my Saturn and it's a punishment.
Yeah,
I mean, this whole process.
Also, it's highly mutative, so
Yeah.
you just have to stay aligned with your own personal values and the laws you make of them, and then Saturn's cool. It just helps you mutate. Foundation for mutation.
And so I have a house number 5 coming, and my car is going to be parked at 15, spot 15. So I'm going to have a whole channel.
And it's going to have a rhythm.
That's going to be an interesting walk from your house to your car.
Yeah, totally. It might
now, I'm wondering
change every once in a while.
I'm wondering with Jan, because he's moved out of a flat that wasn't a cave for him, but he's moved into a new place that feels like his cave.
Has he moved?
No, I thought you told me he'd moved.
He's bought a new place, but I don't think he's moved into it.
But I'm wondering what the number of the new place is.
I don't know.
And how that might fit for him, because he's now found his cave. So it's got me on this kind
modeling.
of. I'll have to ask him next time I see him, or next time he's in the group. You've set me off, Hannah-Leigh, on a trajectory.
I'm sorry. It's kind of fun to me. It's such a fun process. And I've been looking at, like especially this floor stuff, because I'm on the 5th floor and I really have been hiding the whole time that I've been here. I'm like, really like, I don't want anybody to see me. I'm in the shadows here behind the curtain. Now I'm going to go on the 3rd floor. So I'm like, okay, well, let's see how it works out.
Dropping down a little bit.
Yeah. But both, like, I'm a 3-5, so I'm in the 5th one and then I'm in the 3rd one. So, it kind of fits.
Next time you'll be on the first floor.
I actually wanted to be on the first floor, but it's not happening.
What's your profile?
3-5.
3-5. So I know the 2-4 is ground floor, isn't it? Where's the 3-5?
Over here, the first one is usually the ground floor.
I thought the 2-4 was classed as the ground
The
floor.
2 was the second.
It's in England.
Oh, I see. Oh, you're talking about the difference. Ground and first is the same thing.
Yeah.
That's a whole different. That's American, right?
I don't know. I know people do it differently in different places. I know in England, I think there was a ground floor, and then the first floor is when you go up one.
Yeah, that's correct.
And whereas over here, the one is usually the ground floor.
I think so. That's the same as America.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just
We have
the
a lot of
English
things like America, you know, like our Mother's Days and Father's Days are same as in America. I think England has different days for those, so we're more aligned with the States over here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But we are the mother country after all.
You are indeed.
So we think.
Yeah. It's probably not true. Ultimately.
You think?
I think.
You mean I have to drop my stiff upper lip?
Yeah.
No, bloody hell.
Oh,
Which
God.
I never had one in the first place. I'm from Yorkshire.
Oh, they don't have stiff upper lips.
No. Working class, common folk. Only the Queen and the people in the South talk with a stiff upper lip, you know.
I miss the Yorkshire accent.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't. I hated it growing up. I thought it was very monotone, and it was
I think it's very special. I didn't understand the word the first time I moved there, you know? It was like, what the fuck are these people talking about? And it's really funny because I watched a video that I recorded back in 2014. I lived in Leeds, and I listened to myself, and I'm like, I sound like a Yorkshire person. Like, I can't believe it. Like, I had the intonation, you know? Like, it was really like that. I'm kind of shocked.
What's your native country again?
Finland.
Finland.
Yeah.
See, we were very influenced by the Danes and the Vikings, and that there are literally words in Yorkshire dialect that are Danish words, like bayen, which means the baby, the bayen, the baby.
And the town names, like you got like the B at the end of, you know, like Whitby and Weatherby.
Yeah. Very influenced. So it's not unusual then that you might feel at home in the area. But when I first met you, I remember thinking, because I was only there back from America, but for temporarily back in Barnsley, and I was thinking, why the hell is this woman from Finland? What the hell is she doing in Leeds? This is just wrong. And she's into human design.
Yeah.
You know, apart from all the crazy sex stuff, you know, it was fascinating to me that you would actually be in Leeds. It just didn't make any sense whatsoever.
Well, it doesn't have to make sense. I have a wide open G, you know, I can be anywhere. Never know.
There you go.
I mean, come on, I was in Romania. Like, who the fuck goes to Romania? In the countryside, in the middle of nowhere, you know? Yeah. Well, I go.
Interesting.
I've been to all kinds of crazy places that people don't normally go to. When
Is
I went
that-
to America for a trip, I actually traveled to South Dakota, and I think the place was called Springfield. And I met a
Right.
friend who was in prison in there. And so like, people go, oh, I'm going to America. Oh, where are you going to? I'm like, oh, I'm just going to a place called Springfield to meet my friend in prison. Like, who the fuck does that, you know? Well, he
You-
invited me to, they had a powwow there, so I went. I responded, you know?
I nearly went to South Dakota, but only because they were filming Dances with Wolves at the time.
Oh, wow.
And I met someone in LA, and I'd got this idea of being into Native American painting and being an actor. And he said, you should go. Kevin Costner's filming this movie, but I ended up
Wow.
in Sedona instead.
It's one of my favorite films ever, you know?
It was an amazing movie. I have a whole fantasy about what would have happened if I'd actually got into my motorhome that I owned at the time and driven to South Dakota and met up
You
with.
could be in the film. You could
Yeah,
be in
this
my
visual-
DVD.
Yeah, my motorhome in the background on the top of the hill was all the Indians are chasing by. This is interesting.
Gary, you look so in your other channel. Your 9, whatever that is.
I am because I started looking for something online because it wasn't about human design anymore. So
Well,
my
I'm gonna get going
Oh.
myself. I'm gonna eat some
Yeah,
lunch.
me too. I gotta walk my dogs again.
So it's
It was nice to see you guys. I'm glad I could make it this week.
I'm really glad you made it too.
I'm glad.
And I'm glad that you didn't die.
Yeah, me too.
I might not make it next week because I'll be traveling, but we'll see what time I leave.
Do you know much of anything about the locks and the keys, Lily?
No.
Okay.
I wished I did.
In human design,
Yeah. Do you know much about that, Lawrence?
give me a little bit of information, just so I see if it triggers anything. What do you mean by locks and keys?
It's a whole teaching. It's a whole thing.
I can tell you what I read about it from the documents you sent to me if you want.
Okay. I mean, just if you wanted, I was just seeing if anyone else knew anything because we're wanting to find some stuff out.
Mhm.
Do you want to say anything about that, Hanalei?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Not yet.
All right then.
Okay.
Lily
Is it,
sometimes has some info on things like that, cosmology things. So
Well, I'll look in my notes. I'm looking here, the locks and keys, global cycles.
is it anything to do with the correct key fitting the correct lock? Does that fit into it in any way?
well, yeah,
Yeah, it's about the cycles, and like I can tell you one thing about it. Like what I found fascinating was that anybody who has a key and a lock in their design, they experience like, for example, oh fuck, I keep forgetting, like the 25 is the lock, right? And you got
I don't remember them.
well, it's usually the G gates are the locks, and then the key is always the one that is in the global cycle. So for now, it's the 37 that fits to the 25, for example.
Right.
So if you have somebody who has a 37 and another person who has a 25, it's almost like an electromagnetic because it's currently in the global cycles. So there's an additional layer to how we connect to each other through the global cycles that can be experienced as a really deep connection. And obviously when the 2027 comes, it's going to be the 55. So the 55 is then almost like electromagnetic to the 25 instead of the 37. So that's going to break down. That
There's
was
one thing
pretty
that we've
interesting to
been
me.
in and a thing that we're moving toward.
Yeah.
And Hanalei has a lot of it.
I do?
Yeah.
Don't
The
you?
G
Isn't that
center.
what you told me?
Oh, I have none of it. Like I have nothing in my G.
You have a
So the
totally
people who have something in their G center, and especially some of these lock gates, they are connected to the global cycle somehow. It's like the global cycle kind of works through them.
the Sphinx
So
and
then, yeah. No,
Is this
because yeah.
is this
Well,
Ra's
anything
teaching?
basically, Sphinx or a vessel especially, but if you have anything in the G, then this is the way that you connect to the global cycles, or the global cycles work through you. But I have nothing in my G center, so it raises a question like, am I not connected to the global cycles? Like, what am I, a floater here, And I don't know, it's an interesting kind of thing because I can kind of see it at
it's
some
some
level.
to really just see it rather than
Mm.
Is
So
this
you're-
Ra's teachings from the voice?
Yeah.
Okay.
so it says here you can see the locks, which represents the way of life we are locked into. So there's going to be a new way of life
Mm.
being locked into. Yeah. First gate, second gate, seventh gate, 13th gate. Wow.
Are those locks or
But yeah, I mean,
keys?
it works with all of them. So like, you can then look at maybe another lock or like 2. And then where are we now? Is it the 42 on the global cycle? So the 42 and the 24, they kind of have not 24, fucking 42 and 2 have kind of an electromagnetic in humans at the moment, because that's how the global cycles enable that.
And one's a lock and one's a key.
That's right. So the lock is always the G gate.
Okay, so my 2 is a lock to the key from the 42.
That's right. Yeah.
But what does that
So
mean?
well, I'm just thinking it might mean that the 42 can help me unlock something or lock something.
Is it personal like that?
It says here
I'm not
it's all in the body. It's locked into our bodies. It works with all of humanity, with all life.
Mm.
So we have the cycle of planning in every cell right now. And then it conditions everything.
So the locks are always either the vessel or the Sphinx. So whatever you've got there is a lock, and that doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
But the keys are changing.
Mm-hmm.
So my 9 would unlock the 10, and then my 34 would unlock the 10. So I unlock the 10. But what does that mean? I've never heard any personal information about it. Like, I'm just part of the program, and if I show up at a certain place and someone is there with the other one, something happens in the program, or does something happen in me?
Something happens between, like, it is a personal connection that you have to the other who has the 10, for example. If you have the whatever is in the fucking forget the.
I have it right here. I can tell you all of them.
So you have the 34.
I have the 30.
Oh no. Where are we now? We are in the.
We're still
9.
in. Yeah. So I have the 9 unlocks the 10.
Yeah.
That's the only.
Okay, so if you think about anybody in your life who has a 10th gate, do you feel some kind of special connection to them through your 9th gate? Like, does it feel like electromagnetic? Are you pulled by these people somehow?
Where's the 10th gate?
It's in the vessel of love. It's in the G. All of the locks are in the G. Michelle.
Okay. Oh, the 10, the gate of love, self-love, yeah.
I'm trying to think of who. I think Dionise has it. But the thing that's ironic is that people who have the 10th gate often get annoyed by me because they don't like people who don't know how to behave, and I don't know how to behave. And even when I do, I don't really care. You know, so I'm not very good at behaving properly. And so gate 10 people can get annoyed about that with me. But I suppose the 9 part of me knows how, except that the 9's in my nodes.
Oh,
Well, you can look at other ones, you know,
I
don't
have
know
the
what other,
15, I have the 15 and the 46. I don't hardly know any
okay.
40s. The main 40 I can think of that I know is Valia. I have the 15 and the 16. So I unlock myself.
You have both of them, okay.
But coming up, I have the 59, I have the 34.
Okay, you have the 46, right?
Yes.
How do you experience the gate 40? People who have that, do you feel like it's almost like a, there's a description, I want to find it now that we're talking about
Yeah,
it, because
now
he
that we're
talked about
talking
this
about it.
specific connection, because I have this with Alistair, you know, that he has the 46 and I have the 40, and I can really feel the connection
Okay, well,
there.
I feel the connection with you, but I wouldn't,
Mm,
I feel it more, I think, because we're 59 6s and 3 5s, and, you know, there's a lot of other connections. And most of the people who I know that have the 40 have the 37 40, and they annoy me. But Valia has the 40, and I feel connected to her. I can't think of anyone else I know that has only the 40.
I'm trying to find the,
Yeah.
because I can read it out to you because it was so cool. I really liked it. Oh, damn, I don't know where I put it.
Oh, right. 37
Keys
40
and locks.
16. That's the vessel of, I mean, that's the cross of planning. So it's planning and Maya that we're in now, and then it's sleeping Phoenix and penetration that we're going toward. Yeah, I just like there's some piece of something I don't know what's being locked and what the key is opening. If I knew that, I would like this better.
yeah. I feel since you're talking about it, you put it more out there, it's gonna start coming.
Okay, good.
Sweet.
It's coming to you, Lily,
Yeah.
because I've been not knowing anything about this for a long time.
Coming to a human design chart.
Okay.
You have the
I can read you.
15 also, so you unlock you have the key to your lock too. And I have the 15.
Do you want me to read it?
Oh,
Do you want me to read you a little bit about the 46 and 40?
Okay.
Okay. So gate 46, the temple. The 46 hexagram is here used as a keynote label to temple. We're back to a gate of love. And here we are in the love of the body, and the body being the temple. And the moment you have, oh, sorry, bit shitty screen. And the moment that you look here, you see that the temple is in the 40th hexagram, aloneness. Aloneness is the great temple. This is the building of multiple housing and everybody being given shelter and the organizing of cities and society. But the importance of the fact that this is a period in which we have a theme that forms a definition. There is this definition here between the 40-37. And so what you have is a fixed, defined global theme that is called community. And that community is the way, and it's the temple, it's the way to the temple, or it's the way away from the temple. It's all in the community. It goes on, it's quite a long thing, but basically this is how he talks about like these keys are for the locks at the moment. So this was a good example, and there's another part. Maybe I'll see if I can
What is
copy
locked
it and read it.
and what
Hmm?
opens? What is locked?
The global cycle.
I don't know. I don't
The
know.
global cycle.
Evolution.
That's what I want to know. I want to know what's behind the door. What's being locked?
Well, there's the ability to be yourself within that cycle, like the next cycle, that's going to be a lock, right? It's going to be a movement and then a lock in for 400 years into that cycle, right? Then you have the different.
Sounds like a new game show.
Yeah.
Human
It is.
design. What's behind gate 40? Unlock the door and see what you find.
Well, if you look at the G center and you think about all the gates in the G center being locked, well, the G center is about direction, love. It's about the self. So key to yourself. You know, like at some point I had this realization when I was looking at, I love to look at the wheel, you know, and I was thinking how everything leads to one place, which is the self. Like the whole system is designed so that there is nothing but the G center. The G center is the center of everything.
Yes.
And this is where we find ourselves. You know, this is the,
Right.
you know, if you think about the
And our
mystical way,
direction, which is everything.
yeah, and the mystical way is like, if you look at the mystical way, 19 to 49 and then 37 to 40, and this is where it splits off. You know, it can either go to 21, 45, which is the gate of like control and the hierarchies and the tribal shit, or it can go from 55 to 25, which is the mystical way. So you're jumping into the void, you're jumping into something unknown, but you're jumping into yourself. Okay, and then from there you get the channel of awareness, which is the 10, 20, which is I'm being myself in the now, you know. So ultimately I feel like the lock is to do with how do you just discover who you are or love yourself or something like that.
Maybe with it, yeah, like Lily, I think you were saying
In the
within
global
context of what we're in, the program that we're
And
in.
it
yeah.
locks in place, and the keys are the door. So like gate 51 would be a key to shock of the maybe perhaps the change in 2027.
Mm.
But I'm interested too, so we can I'll look for a little further myself and see what
I
pieces
have
we can
tons of information on it because Hanale got interested and I went out and got the information and sent it to her. Do you want me to send it to you, Lily?
do that.
Okay.
Would
Yeah,
you
we
please?
can have a
Hanale.
conversation about, I love this stuff, it's so great.
Yeah.
But it's
Hanale,
about evolution, right? It's the evolution of consciousness and all of that. So it's the
And
direction of the totality, I guess.
What, Lawrence?
this is for Hanale. I've never seen you be so alive in a class before. Did this knock on your head do something?
No, I stopped using weed.
oh, I did too.
Ah, well done. When?
Yeah. Well,
Still on-
a while ago, I was really addicted to it. We're talking about 40 years ago.
Okay.
And what it did was flatlined my emotions, basically.
Yeah.
And so I came back in about a few years ago, just using it a little bit. And a little bit was too much. And what it did was like put a blanket down over me. And then now lift it, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do psychedelics, I can do liquor, you know. I mean, I'm not a big, but I can have a drink. That doesn't affect me the same as pot does. It just
Well, I was using it mainly because I was too distracted by the outside world and I couldn't deal with it. So I put like a wall between me and the world, and I needed it. But then mutation happened and I was done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just I just realized that for me, I'm sure it's a different angle, but it was putting my affect, you know, how I expressed was like apathetic and
yeah. I can see
and,
that, yeah.
and yeah, and it helped me sleep and, you know, and so on. But I
Kind of made
realized
you focus inwards or something.
And I realized how it was connected to those many years ago where I really abused it quite a bit. And it gave me some understanding of why I did that. And I'm still in the process of discovering that right now. So yeah, it's pretty empowering to see things, you know.
Yeah.
Lawrence.
When did you stop, Annalie?
5 days ago.
Oh,
This is
wow.
my day 5. Yeah.
I stopped about the second round about 2 weeks. So,
Well,
So it's quite recent for you too. Yeah.
just
the
the second.
difference I see in you is amazing.
Thanks.
I mean,
I hope
we've
it's like
also
better.
we've also had this kind of personal update,
Yeah.
which has shifted something. But I mean, my experience of you in every class that I've been part of has been this person in the distance who's always muted and occasionally says something. And I had no idea that.
Yeah, I was in
was
the middle
part
of my
that.
process, you know, like I have been through quite a lot over the past 2 years, let's say. And so I was really trying to cope. And I feel like mutation happened, and as a result, I was able to let go of using the medication that I was using, you know, and
Cool.
made a difference.
Big difference.
Yeah, I feel good. I feel really good.
Yeah. It feels like we're a little bit on the same cycle for different reasons, but yeah.
Yeah. But you know, Lily, you and I, we have the same same cross, but different way around as well.
Oh, wow.
There are some other, I think we have some other similarities in our chart. So it's I always find it really interesting to see these like fractals kind of thing, you know, like you tend to have the similar kind of process at similar times with people who share stuff.
Yeah. It's like their outer authority has something for you when, you know.
Yeah.
Follow our strategy and authority. Locks and keys, still got your strategy and authority. So
yeah, there you go. And that's what the 2-4 is all about.
That's right. So I felt like we could do a little poem with that. Locks and keys, strategy and authority. Something.
I seem to remember Ra saying something about, it may have been in one of the classes I assisted on, but he said, or I've read it somewhere, that the 2-4s, if they were Christians, they'd be the priests or the missionaries.
Oh yeah.
Who were just
like
holding the space for the strategy and authority.
Yeah. I have that inside of me. It's like,
so
if I know it, you can boil me alive. It won't stop me from knowing it. You know, it's like,
oh, don't do that.
Yeah. Although I really
every time I get into a hot bath, I think of the story from Shogun when they boiled a guy alive. I can't not think it, and then I just have to get rid of it because I love hot water.
Your gate 41 coming into play.
Every fucking time. I still got the memory of this guy that they boiled alive. Even thinking about it. Anyway.
Lawrence, I want to say thank you for that recognition or mentioning that you see the difference, because I think it's important for me to get the feedback from people. I mean, I know I can see the difference, but it's nice that
you're alive.
That it reflects ours. Yeah, I'm more alive. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm moving. I'm moving to the seaside. I can't wait.
The seaside.
What's your environment again?
That's
my environment
Yorkshire
is
thing.
Wet kitchens.
Wet kitchens, so yeah.
Oh, you and Valia.
I always feel like the water has massive importance for me and my well-being. So I'm gonna be 750 meters from the sea. My house.
You even know the exact.
Yes.
How exciting. Well,
Yeah.
I've got to,
That's a thing. I want to give everyone a reminder because it's a little confusing, is that you might think that shores people are about water, but it's not. It's about light. It's the kitchen people that are about the water.
Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
Just
Miss
reminding
T.
them.
Interesting.
Okay,
Even dry kitchens.
because I love the water too, but
That's
I'm
water
not,
or not water. But it's
Say
about
again?
Yeah, wet and dry. Yeah.
dry. It's about water.
It's
Whereas
also because it's a
shores-
three, you can.
Sure, if you know
Sorry.
shores people and they're always talking about getting in the water, they're in transference.
Mm.
Not about being.
It's like there's a correlation between, you know, like if you think about a 3 in a PHS, that's thirst.
Exactly.
Well, 3 in the environment is wet, dry. You know, it's like there's always a.
It's water. The 3 is about the
Yeah.
water. And water is mutative.
Yeah.
And 3 is
Yeah.
an
when I was in,
yeah.
I was in Bangkok, you know, we took a boat down the canals and stuff, and there was all these external market boats selling things that were floating on the water. That was perfect because I love water and I love external markets. So you could pull up to them and buy things, and there you go. So water for wet
Oh.
kitchens is not the most true, maybe, as far as the actual water.
Yeah, like when Ra has talked about doing PHS, like having a place, like creating a place where people would come for their PHS to get indoctrinated. That is not his word. He would say the best place for the 3s would be to put them in like a samadhi tank. He also said
Ugh.
the best time to do your PHS is when the color is in the program.
Are those
That's
samadhi
not
tanks? Are
people
those,
about
are
their-
those flotation tanks?
Yeah, flotation tanks.
I had the worst migraine I've ever had in my life after a flotation tank. I won't go anywhere near those fucking things. That's such a
Good thing you're not a
visceral.
third color PHS.
I enjoyed it, but it was an experience. I didn't go back, so
I thought they were claustrophobic.
I can
Yeah.
experience mostly anything once. So
I don't really get a response for that.
But
If somebody suggested it, but I'm like,
if they gave you a gift card to go try it,
I would try it if somebody paid for it for me. I wouldn't. It doesn't interest me enough to invest in it because I don't really have the money. So
you never
yeah,
know.
if it was a freebie, then maybe for the sake of experience.
I'd rather have a hot bath and soak for hours.
Well, because you have experienced it, but if you hadn't,
Well, yeah,
might
I
still-
did it.
yeah,
I did
yeah,
it
yeah,
and
yeah.
experience it. Like Lily said, always try it once. Well, most things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm
I
not
like
sure if someone said, do you want to take a submarine down to the Titanic?
No.
I'm not sure. I'm
Mm-mm.
not sure I would.
No.
Now, before the incident, I might have done it.
Would you go to space if somebody said,
Uh-huh.
you know, just fly up above and then come back? No.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
all
I
those
love
things
that.
sound claustrophobic to me.
Like-
I need fresh air.
Like the plane that just goes up out of the atmosphere and then comes back down again, not necessarily, you know, up to the space station or something.
Would you, Lily?
No. Steve would, but I wouldn't.
I would, for sure.
Well, it depends. If I was like 113, I probably might.
What if you're 100? What if you were 112?
I might have to take 2 more breaths to.
I'm going to the space station.
You might die of a heart attack if it's like too shocking for you.
But would that could I still have my Bardo? If I was floating above space, would I have for 72 hours? Would the I wonder about that. If you die in space, not on Earth,
That's an interesting question.
I sometimes wonder if the famous actress Bridget Bardot had an easier death than everybody else.
what'd she die of?
You missed
You
the
mean
joke.
but because of the name?
Oh God, I get that one. It just went right over my head at first. So she bridged to the Bardo.
The bridge to the
Yeah.
Bardo. There you go. That was her whole point of living.
Yeah.
You know that experience you have when you take off in a plane and you push back the G-force that
Yeah.
you have every time you take off, but it's not like going to space, but that is the most exciting thing for me when you're
I like
taking off
that
in the
feeling.
plane. And I
Mm.
just want to go faster, 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 faster.
Mm.
I think I would enjoy G-force.
I'm a triple split emotional projector. I'm one of the slowest beings probably on Earth. I wouldn't like that, I don't think. I don't like
Like
downhill. It's too
negative
fast.
reverse G-force.
Yeah.
No, that would
I
still
don't
be
think I would.
G-force. though.
I
I
don't
think
know.
it's time
It's
to go,
presented
but
to
I don't.
me, you know.
I need to go, but I don't know how to get out. Usually,
Yeah, I
somebody
don't
has
either.
to kick me out.
Why don't
So
you
I'm just.
know out?
I have no idea. That's
You
why I
don't
don't know,
you
because
don't
I have
see
no
the
idea.
word leave on your screen?
No. Oh,
No?
there's no word leave on my screen. I don't want to leave. I never want to leave. If
So
I
it's
leave,
not,
it's because I found the word.
you're on Zoom, right? So it seems like there would be the leave button.
Are you on your phone though? It's
Yeah.
if it's an app, I
Oh,
don't know where it is in the app.
okay.
Oh,
I think you just close the app, you know.
Yeah. All right, I gotta
No.
go. I have to
Yeah.
pee, so I've overstayed my welcome. I love you guys.
Love you.
Love
Bye.
you. Bye.
Welcome back
Bye,
anyway.
Tara.
Bye, Tara.
Bye, Tiara. Well,
She's
I
still
can't
there.
leave until it kicks me out anyway, so
Okay.
I'm just gonna sit like that and disappear. It's like a super trooper drinking, smiling, having fun, feeling like the number one.